Hey guys, welcome to part 5 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Hiruzen. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 41 Hell Month, Part 1. 30 days until the finals. Unkai sat in the dojo with Yakumo who sat across from him. Yakumo was in her training clothes and waited for her training to begin. To the side, her parents were watching as was Haku. The former ally of Momoki Zabuza had agreed to help her with her taijutsu. They sat and waited for Unkai to talk. The old man looked at her with a serious gaze. Let me first say that I am proud at how far you have come in your life as a ninja. Many wrote you off, but you showed them that you were meant for this life. Unkai said. Thank you, uncle. Yakumo said. That said, I will let you know that I will not be easy on you when it comes to this training. I have given your friend Haku instructions not to take it easy on you. I will also be hard on you and I will push you to your limits so that you are prepared for your opponent in the finals. Your other sparring partner will also be tough on you. Unkai said. Other instructor? Yakumo asked with confusion. Unkai nodded his head and the doors opened. In stepped someone that made Yakumo's eyes narrow. She faced her uncle and was about to speak, but he stopped her. I know that you have a history with her, but she is one of the village's top genjutsu users. Since she has no one to help as her student is being trained by his father, she has agreed to help you prepare for the exams. Unkai said. Yakumo just took a breath and calmed her angry. Very well, I will abide by your decision, uncle. Yakumo said. Yakumo gave one look to Kurena before turning her head around, refusing to look at her. Kurena just sighed and waited for the training to begin. XXX. Midoshi looked at Manda who was looking right back at her. The two were in a starring contest that had been going on for a while now. To the side, the team that she put together was waiting for the answer that they came here for. Manda sighed and faced her. Very well, they can stay here and train. However, I will keep an eye on them. They can use you part of Ryushido. They are your responsibility and if they get eaten, I am not responsible. Manda said. Thank you Manda Chi-Chi. Midoshi turned to lead her team to her private training area. That's when Midoshi was stopped by Manda and another large snake. Actually, let Hikari take them there. You need to come with me. Manda said. Midoshi was a little confused but obeyed him. She got on his head, and the two went in the other direction. It didn't take them long to arrive at the home of the Hokage Sennin, White Snake Sage. She wondered why they were here. Was the Hokage Sennin finally going to teach her the Sennin Moto, honored sage mode? The two entered the cave that he resided in. Midoshi faced one of the largest serpents that ever lived. He was wearing a hat with two pointed edges, an orb on top, and a headdress. He also was wearing a chain with an orb around its neck. In his mouth was a cigarette. He released a breath of smoke before facing the young Midoshi. Midoshi-chan, I am glad to see you today. The white snake said. It's good to see you Ojizen. Manda Chi-Chi said that you wished to see me. Midoshi asked. Ah yes, I did wish to see you. I have seen a drastic change in your future that has me surprised. I thought that you should know about it. He said. Midoshi looked at the old sage with a smirk. She didn't believe in fortune telling but she loved the old sage. She decided to humor the serpent. Okay, let's hear it. She said with a tone. The old sage was not offended and looked at her. Your future is entwined with Gamma clan for some reason. In fact, the two true sages shall form a union that would unite the two clans and bring peace between the two. What do you think of this future of yours? The white snake sage said. No offense Ojizen, but you know how I feel about your future telling. I like to make my own future. Midoshi said. You have not offended me, child, but I believe in what I saw. Who knows, maybe you will become a believer as well. He said. Whatever you say, Ojizen. If you'll excuse me, I have some training to do. Midoshi said. She turned and made her way to start training for the finals. As she made her way to her private training ground, she couldn't help but think about what the old sage said. A union that would unite the clans. It sounded ridiculous. The Gamma, Toad, and Heavy Snake clans would never see eye to eye. Still, she wondered who this true sage could be on the Gamma side. For some reason, spiky blonde hair and deep blue eyes came into her mind. It made her smile. XXX. Achoo. Naruto sneezed. Drea looked at his student for the month. You okay, kid? Drea asked. Yeah, I think so. Someone must be talking about me. Naruto said. Drea turned back to their travel to their destination. XXX. 29 days left. Jacken arrived and kept his wits about him. He was not looking forward to the next 29 days with his sensei. He could only imagine what that crazy bitch had in store for him. He made a note to get even with his teammates for leaving him alone with the psycho. As he entered the training ground, Jacken got a bad feeling. It was something that he and the team developed. Someone was here and they had very bad intentions. It had to be Anko. He quickly moved out of the way when several shuriken came at him. A few more came his way, and he countered with some shuriken of his own. He rushed toward the last known location of the shuriken and pulled out his Kyuubi. He launched the ball part with some force that tore a branch off the tree. He watched as a shadowy figure ran away. Jacken gave chase and kept his eyes on the intruder. He threw the ball part of his weapon again, making the person jump in the air. He launched some shuriken at the person, but they countered with shuriken of their own. Jacken retracted his chain quickly and charged at the person. He closed the distance and lashed out with the sickle part of the weapon. It was blocked, but something, and Jacken was stabbed in the chest. He noticed that it was a blunt weapon and assumed that it was a bow. The two traded strikes, each avoiding a crippling blow. That's when Jacken did hand seals. Reiju Hashuri no Jutsu. Lightning beast running technique, Jacken shouted, and created a beast of lightning that charged at the intruder. He heard the person curse, which made him smirk. Doton Dorokugeshi. Earth release, Earth, shore return, Anko voice came from his right. The attack managed to stall the lightning attack before it punched through and destroyed the earth-made slab. That still gave Anko enough time to act and save the intruder that was attacking Jacken. Anko landed and placed the person down. Jacken relaxed and wondered what was going on. That wasn't nice, you two. You started without me. Anko said. Sensei, what's going on? Jacken asked. Well, I figured that I could use some help in training you. She agreed to help me since her teammate canceled on her. Meet your training partner. Anko said as she brought Tenten into view. Buns, you have me training with her? What for? Jacken asked. Well, considering that she has better accuracy than you, I figure that she can give you some pointers. She can also help in a version of tag that I've created. Anko said with a smirk. It's the perfect idea. She'll help you with long range and I'll work on your close range skills. So Tenten will be in charge and her orders are like my orders. Disobey them and she has my authority to punish you as she see fit. Jacken looked at her with shock and looked ready to argue. He stopped himself because he knew that it would be useless with her. He looked at Tenten, who had a wide grin on her face. This is going to be a sucky 29 days. Jacken said. XXX. Drea and Naruto finally reached their destination. They jumped off the orange and red toad. Drea thanked him and the two looked over the area that they were in. Naruto was very confused as to why they were going to train in a ruined city. So, this is where we're going to be training? Naruto asked slowly. I know that it doesn't look like much, but this will be the perfect place to train. Come on, we have to go to the room where we will be staying. Drea said. They walked for a little while before they came upon some doors. Jiraiya pushed Naruto forward, which confused him. Use some of your blood, and place it on the seal. Confused, Naruto did as he was told and placed some blood on the seal on the door. Surprisingly, the doors began to open. Naruto stepped back, and was wondering what the hell was going on. Jiraiya placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and looked at him with a smile. Welcome to the home of your ancestors, Naruto. Welcome to the home of the Uzumaki. Jiraiya said. XXX. Naruto was sitting in the room where he was going to train. However, his mind was far from training. He was still trying to wrap his around the fact that he had a clan. He always thought that Uzumaki was a common surname in Konoha. He never found another record of another Uzumaki, so he just assumed that was that. Now, he had a clan and they were, by Jiraiya's explanation, badass. Still, he didn't know why anybody told him about it. Was it because he was the child of an Uzumaki? Jiraiya walked up the young blonde and sat down next to him. How are you doing, kid? I know that this is a lot to take in. Jiraiya said. A little. I'm just confused as to why I wasn't told. I mean, the swirl pattern on the Chunin and Jonin flak vest are the clan symbols. The Uzumaki must have been important to Konoha, so why isn't there any information about the clan? Naruto asked. That was done after Kumo attempted to kidnap your mother. Jiraiya explained. My mother? You knew my mother? Naruto asked with surprise. Yeah, I knew her. In fact, it was her that told me about this room. Jiraiya said. He saw that Naruto had a lot of questions roaming around his head. I know that you have a lot of questions, Naruto, and you deserve answers, but these questions will have to wait. Right now, we have a much more important task at hand. If you want, I can answer your questions after dinner. Okay then, but you are going to answer everything I have to ask. Jiraiya nodded at Naruto. Okay, so what are we going to working on? Naruto asked. Everything. Everything? You mean everything that I've learned? Naruto asked. Yeah, that's right. I'll be teaching you some other stuff, and you'll be learning some Uzumaki Fuinjutsu as well. Jiraiya said. How am I going to do that? Naruto asked. Do you know what the true purpose of the Kage Bunshin, shadow clones? Naruto nodded his head in the negative. The original purpose of the Kage Bunshin is for spying. When the clone dispels, the information that it gets returns to the user. Jiraiya explained. Okay, I understand that, but how is that going to help me out? Naruto asked. Well, Kakashi told me that this jutsu can also be used for training. Whatever jutsu you learn, or practice with your clones, will be transferred back to you. Months of training are cut down into days. Jiraiya explained. So, you're telling me that I can learn some pretty powerful jutsu in a matter of days? I can learn from scrolls and remember everything that I read. Jiraiya nodded. That's when Jiraiya watched as Naruto began to shake. He then heard Naruto begin to laugh. The laughter started to scare the white-haired Senin. XXX. Anko stopped for a second and looked off in the distance. She didn't know why, but she felt happy for some reason. It was as if something or someone was influenced by her charm. The weird thing was she felt that it was one of her students. She took her feet off Jacken and Tenten chests and stood proudly. I have succeeded, Kami. I have succeeded in getting my hooks into one of them. 1 down, 2 to go. Anko said with a smile. Tenten looked at her fallen comrade with a confused look, but Jacken had no answers for her. XXXXX. Chapter 42, Hell Month Part 2. 28 days until the finals. Neji and Hinata were trading blows with each other. The spar was very intense, and has been since the beginning of the match. Hinata did not wish to hold her cousin back, and did her best to keep up with him. Neji was actually having a time sparring with her, but he was still her superior. Both of them began to expel chakra and began to spin. Haksha Kaiten. 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. The domes of chakra grinded against each other, each trying to fight for dominance. Both attacks cancel each other out, and the two slid away from each other. Neji was a little surprised at that. Hinata had just learned the Hakusho Kaiten, and she was able to actually match his output. However, he could see that it took its toll on her. That's enough for now. Hayashi shouted out. He was standing at the wall of the dojo with Hanabi at his side. That was very impressive, the both of you. However, you should not push yourself so hard, Hinata. You have just learned the Kaiten, and to use most of your chakra like that was foolish. I am sorry, father. I just do not wish to hold Neji Nisan be back. Hinata said tiredly. It is alright. Take a break and get your energy back. Neji, prepare yourself. Hayashi said and stepped onto the mat. Neji did as he was told and got into his stance. Hayashi got into his stance and charged at the young man. XXX. Sasuke hit the ground hard after another session. He was trying to master his element affinity, which was lightning. He kept channeling more and more chakra into mastering this exercise, but he was only getting a small spark. It frustrated and pissed him off. He struggled to get up, but his body would not respond. A shadow fell over him, making Sasuke turn his head to see who it was. It's time to take a break, Sasuke. You have been at this for 3 days straight. You will not be able to compete at 100% if you keep going at this pace. Kakashi said. No. I can. Still. Keep going. Sasuke groaned out. Kakashi sighed and knelt down. He pressed a pressure point on Sasuke's neck, and he was out like a light. He lifted Sasuke up and carried him to his tent. He placed the boy inside and laid him down. He looked at his student and sighed. He didn't like the path that Sasuke was taking. He believed that he could help Sasuke find a new path in life, but now he was not so sure. If Kakashi was honest with himself, he saw Sasuke as his redemption for all the decisions that he made in his past life. He could finally repay his old friend Obito for his sacrifice. Still, Sasuke was consumed by revenge, and nothing would deter him for it. It worried Kakashi as he knew what that could lead to, and he did not want that to happen to him. It would mean that he would be forced to deal with him. He quickly banished those thoughts and made his way out of the tent. He had some training of his own to do for the upcoming battle that was to befall Konoha. XXX. 25 days until the final. Jacken was being dragged along by his training partner Tenten. Anko had been truly ruthless today, but Jacken took it as normal. He did his best to fight Anko off, but she wasn't a jonin for nothing. Thank her luck stars that she wasn't included in today's training. Still, she was getting training for the crazed woman and actually saw improvement in her taijutsu and weapons. She manages to get him to his apartment and get the door open. She dragged him to his couch and threw him on it. Ah geez, be a little gentle, huh? Jacken exclaimed. Oh, stop your complaining. You should be used to this anyway. Tenten looked around the place. This isn't what I expected of your apartment. She said. What did you expect, a room filled with weapons? Isn't that your thing? Jacken asked with a smirk. Tenten glared at him, but said nothing. Where's your first aid kit, stupid? Tenten asked. Jacken pointed to his kitchen and Tenten made her way to where he was pointing. She grabbed the kit and made her way back when something caught her attention. It was a letter that was from Aiko. She remembered that was the name of the woman that Jacken was writing to. She grabbed the letter and made her way back to the couch. Hey, you got a letter from that Aiko woman. How's that going anyway? I don't know what to tell you. We're just talking to each other. She tells me some things, I tell her some things. That is the extent of our relationship. Jacken said. Tenten gave Jacken a weird look before opening the letter. Hey, what are you doing? That's private. He tried to grab the letter, but Tenten quickly moved out of the way, making him fall on his face. She opens it and begins to read. Dear Jacken, I have heard of these exams that you are talking about. Are you sure that you wish to compete? I've heard that people die in these exams. I don't want to sound like I'm worried, but I am. I guess that I should have more confidence in you, but I just worry. Then again, you have two great teammates and that sensei of yours, so I shouldn't worry. If you want, I can come to Konoha and watch you compete. Would that be okay with you? Tenten finished the letter and gave Jackin a mocking smirk. Jackin just looked at her with a glare. Ah, that is so sweet. She cares so much about you. You must have made quite an impression on her. Tenten joked. I swear, I'm going to get you for this. Jackin growled. I'm so scared. Tenten said. XXX. Midoshi charged at Keitaro with her blade. The petite girl took to the skies and began to do hand seals. Katan, Kyuubi fire release, fire dragon bullet. She shouted and spat out a stream of flames at Midoshi. Midoshi uses a substitution to avoid the flames and appear behind Keitaro. She had to use another substitution to avoid Guren's shot on Shuriken Ranbu crystal release Shuriken wild dance. She landed on the ground, right in Kodoheime's path. Kamishiguro Roga hair shower wolf fang. Kodoheim shouted. Her hair shot out at Midoshi and formed the head and body of a wolf. The wolf attempted to eat Midoshi, but she dodged, and cut the hair off. She twisted her blade and engaged Guren in a blade fight. Keitaro landed and did some more seals while Kodoheim jumped into the air. Doton Arijigoku no Jutsu Earth Release Antlion Prison Technique. Keitaro shouted. Kamishiguro Higaname. Hair shower, steel rain. Kodoheim shouted. Guren jumped back as the ground sucked Midoshi into the center and Kodoheim's spike-like hair hit the ground, stabbing the loose ground. The three waited for Midoshi to appear. An explosion of dirt made the three block their vision and jumped away. They removed their hands to see Midoshi on a snake. She looked at her arm, which had a small cut on it. Not bad, not bad, you actually managed to get me. Well then, I guess we can take this up a little. Midoshi said with a smile. With a small pat, the snake lunged at the three women. XXX. Naruto attacked with his staff at a toad who was matching his intensity. Drea watched from the sidelines and observed his godson. He had to compliment his sensei for training him so well. He would not be surprised if he grew in rank after the finals. He was taking his training serious and pushed Naruto hard. He would need it against this Midoshi girl. He had heard several things about the girl from the toads, and it wasn't any good. The good thing was that Naruto's use of the Kage Bunshin was bearing fruit. In the matter of 5 days, his chakra control, and his mastery of the Rasengan had greatly improved. He looked to his right to see a group of clones working on the Katan Enden fire release, flame bullet. He looked to his left to see a couple of clones working on the first stage of his wind affinity. It was a great training tool and like Kakashi told him, only Naruto could do it. He was happy for that as it would help him in the long run. He felt kind of bad keeping that for the boy. He was a mature child, and he felt that he could handle the fact that a group of S-rank shinobi would be coming after him in the future. He just didn't want to worry the boy. He wanted him to just enjoy life as it was. However, he knew that he would have to let the boy know of the coming danger. While he would be telling Naruto about this group, he would not be telling him about the boy's future. One of the elder toads came by and told him about a vision the Ogama Sennin, great toad sage, had. It was about a union of the Gama and Hebi clans. There was just no way that was happened. Those two clans have been at war for years. He just focused on Naruto's training for the time being. XXX. 20 days until the finals. Suga, passing Fang. Kiba shouted and launched himself at Shino. Shino released his insects and they began to circle around Shino, forming a spinning black dome. Mushikame no Jutsu insect jar technique, Shino said. The drilling attack hit the spinning dome of insects and was repelled by the defense. Kiba flipped and landed on his feet. The insects stopped spinning and flew around Shino. That's not a bad technique, Shino, But aren't you worried about the Hyuga telling you that you stole their move? Kiba asked. It isn't the Kaiten, so I'm not worried. Now, you and Akamaru attack me. Shino said as his bugs began to swirl around him again. Alright, let's go Akamaru. Kiba said. Akamaru turned into a copy of Kiba, and they both launched themselves at Shino. Gotsuga, Fang passing Fang. The attack hit the dome of insects and plowed right through them. Shino was sent flying a few feet from the attack. Kiba stopped the attack and rushed over to his teammate. Holy crap man, I'm really sorry about that. Kiba said. Shino sat up and looked at his teammate. It's alright. I need to improve the technique some more. Shino said. Let's just stick to the Tsuga for now. Kiba said. Agreed. Shino said. XXX. Sai hit the ground hard. He did not cry out or show any type of pain. His pale skin was covered with purple-colored bruises. Torun walked over to him and touched the purple bruises, making them disappear. After he got rid of them all, he walked away. We will continue later. You must do much better if you are going to fight Shino. He will show you no mercy. Torun said. Yes, Torun-sensei. Sai said weakly. XXX. Kurena was breathing a little hard. She looked at her opponent who was breathing much harder. Their spar was an intense one, and starting to get a little out of control. She didn't know how much longer she could keep this going. Yakumo's genjutsu skills had really grown since the last time she saw her. Unkai watched and decided that enough was enough. I believe that will be it for sparring today. Let's take a break. Unkai said. The two relaxed and faced each other. That was pretty good, Yakumo-sama. Kurena said. No thanks to you, was Yakumo's curt reply. She turned and made her way out of the dojo to get something to eat. Kurena just sighed at her attitude. Even after 10 days, Yakumo would not warm up to her. She couldn't blame her. She did crush her dreams of become a kunoichi and gave up on her. She deserved any type of treatment that she gave her. I apologize for daughter Kurena. Kurena turned to see Yakumo's mother Yuriko. She had a cup of tea in her hand. She handed it to Kurena, who took it with a bow. It is unbecoming of her to hold such a grudge. It is all right, Yuriko Dono. I deserve it all for what happened with her. I abandoned her because I was too afraid and too weak to control her power. She has every right to be angry with me. Kurena explained. I don't think it started as anger. She was just very hurt about everything. She was hurt that you were scared of her power, and that you gave up on her. It just festered as she got older. I'm just happy that she has made some friends and may be a nice young man to be with her. Yuriko said. Do you want some advice, Kurena-san? Advice? Kurena asked. You are no longer that scared, weak person. You are a powerful jonin and well respected. Use that strength and find the courage to conquer your past. Yuriko said. She turned and left Kurena alone in the dojo. The jonin of Team 8 took those words and replayed them. Did she have the courage to conquer her mistake? Was she no longer scared of her students' power? Kurena sighed and made her way out of the dojo. She had a lot to think about. XXXXX. Chapter 43, Hell Month, Final Part. 18 days until the finals. Kurena had a lot on her mind since speaking with Yuriko. She had a point that she was no longer that woman from before. She would gather the courage to face her past and push on through. That is what she was doing right now. She had called Yakumo away from the compound so that they could settle things between them. She turned to her left as Yakumo appeared into the clearing. Yakumo walked up to her and faced her with a scowl. Kurena kept a neutral expression as the two faced each other. So, you want to settle our differences? Why now? You didn't care before. Yakumo started. You're right, but I figure that was wrong of me. I was ashamed and scared about what I did. Yakumo, I did wrong by you and I understand if you can't forgive me, but I am sorry for everything that I did. Hirena said. You're sorry. That's all you have to say. Yakumo snarled. What do you want me to say? I didn't know how to handle your power. I felt that it would have destroyed you, and you were already too fragile in body. I did what I thought was best. Hirena explained. And how did that work out? You couldn't even seal my power off right, and it nearly cost me my parents. You think that saying sorry is going to change that? Tell me, Hirena-sensei, is a normal sorry going to take that back? Yakumo demanded. What do you want from me, Yakumo? What can I do to make this right? You can't do anything. Do you know how hurtful it was when I heard you tell the Sandaime that I was useless? Did you know how much it hurt that you just abandoned me? You crushed my dream of becoming a kunoichi, something I wanted to be for so long. Why did you crush my dream? Why did you abandon me? Yakumo roared. Yakumo dropped to her knees and began to cry her eyes out. Hirena couldn't believe that she had caused such pain. She moved up to the crying girl and embraced her. Yakumo struggled to get away, but Hirena would not let go. After a while, Yakumo stopped struggling and just wept. They stayed like that for a good while. XXX. Hirena and Yakumo sat in silence after their little hugging session. They just looked at the vision of the village and said nothing. The silence was finally broken by Hirena. Do you feel any better? She asked. A little, Yakumo said. There was another silence, but this one was much shorter. I'm still pretty mad at you. I don't think that I could stop being mad at you. However, I'm willing to put it past us and try to work with you. I could use the help. Yakumo said. I can agree with that. We have 18 days left. I will not go easy on you, mainly because I know your sensei well. I believe that you can take it. Hirena said. Thank you. Hirena-sensei. Yakumo said softly. Hirena smiled a little and the two just continued to watch the village. XXX. Jacken dodged another volley from Tenten as he closed in on her. Tenten pulled out her 3-section staff and met the charge. The two engaged in a brief weapons battle until Tenten backed away. Jacken wouldn't let her, managing to discreetly wrap his chain around her leg. He pulled her down, and she hit the ground hard. Jacken then channeled a little lightning to give her a small jolt. Tenten screamed before throwing the chain off her. She quickly jumped to her feet and was in Jacken's face. What the hell? I said no damn lightning. Tenten roared. Oh, stop acting like a drama queen. It was a small shot. Jacken waved her off. Tenten was about to erupt when Anko arrived. Looking at the two and seeing that they were in such close proximity, Anko had a small grin on her face. Am I interrupting something? Anko asked with mirth. Jacken just huffed at her and Tenten just scoffed. It was a running joke with Anko and them that the two liked each other. They had gotten used to it, and would just ignore the snake woman. What's that in your hand? Jacken asked. Oh, this? Well, this is your equalizer. Say hello to your new friend. Anko said with excitement and brought out a new Kusarigama-like weapon. There were 2 sickle blades with one inverted, giving it the resemblance of a fan. The blades are connected to a short pike-like rod tethered together by a long chain. Jacken and Tenten marveled the weapon as Anko handed it to him. He observed the weapon and noticed the blades could be swung by their chain in large circles, allowing the bladed portion to spin like a fan. Anko just grinned at the two. So, what do you think? No. Words. Can. Be. Said. Jacken said with awe. Beautiful. Tenten said breathlessly. Anko looked at the two with a smile. I knew that you would like it. So, we have 18 days to. Anko stopped talking as the two teens were still mesmerized by the weapon she had forged for Jacken. Anko sighed, and wondered how she was going to get her student back on track. XXX. 16 days until finals. Neji hit the ground again after getting hit with the Hakurokujuin Sho, 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji struggled to stand but was stopped by his uncle. Calm down and rest, your tenketsu will be closed for a while, Hayashi said. Neji nodded and sat back down. Hayashi then turned to his daughters, who were also breathing heavily. Both girls began to release their chakra and began to spin. Hakusha Kaiten, 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. They both shouted and 2 domes appeared. They grinded against each other for a good while until Hanabi's Kaiten was defeated and was sent flying by her sister's Kaiten. Hanabi groaned and Hinata rushed over to see that if she was alright. Hanabi nodded and assured her sister that she was alright. Hayashi walked up to them, and they stood at attention. They bowed to their father and kneeled. Neji joined them after he got a little rest. Hayashi looked at all three. I am pleased at each of all of your progress. You have improved greatly. Your Kaiten needs a bit more work, both of you. Neji, your Hakurokujuin Sho must be a little faster. You will need it against your opponent, as well as the Jukenpo Ichijikishin Gentle Fist Art 1 Blow Body, Hayashi explained. I understand the Jukenpo Ichijikishin, sir, but why the Hakurokujuin Sho? Lee barely has any chakra running through him. Neji said. Do not underestimate that boy, or your sensei Neji. If I know Mato guy, he is teaching that boy a very powerful jutsu. Hayashi said. XXX. A large and powerful explosion could be seen from Gei's vantage point. As the dust began to settle, he could see an outline of his prized student. His skin was a little darker, and it looked like that he would pass out very soon. His assumption was proven right when Lee fell over. He made his way over to the crater that Lee had just created. He looked down and saw that the heavy wooden dummy was now in splinters. Guy grinned and went over to his student. He gently picked him up and carried him home. He would be ready for Neji in 16 days. XXX. 12 days until finals. Both Drea and Manda looked at the situation before them and sighed. They should have seen this coming, knowing the parties. They watched as Mamushi glared at Midoshi and Naruto, and Gamariki glared at each other. Both adults knew that they had issues with each other, but knew that they needed each other as they were the best for collaboration jutsu. They just wished that they would just get along with each other. Manda just sighed as he thought about how these two hated each other. It was nothing but jealousy. Mamushi, his one and only daughter, hated Midoshi since she was a child. He did not help matters as he doted on the young girl. She was jealous that Midoshi got all of his attention. When he attempted to mend bridges, Mamushi wanted nothing to do with him or his human child, as she called her. It did not help matters that Midoshi would mock and tease the young female serpent, which often led to Mamushi trying to swallow Midoshi whole or Midoshi trying to skin her. They would never see eye to eye. It was much different when it came to Naruto and Gamariki. The two dislike for each other stemmed from a training accident. Drea was trying to help improve Naruto's genjutsu skills. Showing him a way to dispel them, he summoned Gamariki because he could cast genjutsu. As the genjutsu was casted, Naruto used the method that Drea taught him. However, Naruto misjudged the amount of chakra to use and blew Gamariki into the river. Angry, the toad attacked Naruto verbally, calling him all types of names. Naruto didn't take kindly to this, and verbally lashed back. The two did not like each other after that. Having enough of the stare down, both men got in their faces. Alright, that's enough. You both need each other in order to get stronger. Now get to it. They shouted. The two teens just sighed at each other. Fine. All four of them said. With that out of the way, their training continued. XXX. Sasuke looked at the hole that he had created with his new jutsu kunari. It was a technique that Kakashi taught, and it was the perfect move for him. With his Sharingan, he could see any counter coming, and can see any movement. It would be the jutsu that would end the life of his brother, Itachi. He had ignored the words that his sensei had told him that it was a jutsu to protect his friends. All it was to him was a sword that would strike a deadly blow to his enemies. Sasuke looked ready to try again, but he was stopped by Kakashi. He gave the man a dirty look, but Kakashi returned a serious look back at him. That's enough, Sasuke. At your current level, 2 Kudari is your limit, Kakashi said. Sasuke looked ready to ignore him, but a small feeling of pain ran through his shoulder and arm. Kakashi looked at Sasuke and sighed. He was at his end with the boy. He refused to listen to anything that he said, and he could see that all he cared about was vengeance. The curse mark did not help him any. He didn't know what else to do. Kakashi suddenly became serious and turned to his left. You can come out now, Kakashi said. Sasuke turned to his left as well to see the Tsunagenin, Sabaku no Gaara. The dead-looking eyes of Gaara bore into the Sharingan of Sasuke. I see it, the hatred in your eyes. You are like me. You fight for yourself, and you will do anything for power, Gaara commented. Sasuke just scoffed at him while Kakashi looked worried. Am I supposed to be happy that you understand? Are we comrades now? Sasuke mocked Gaara. The red head glared at him and released a little intent. He stopped after a while and turned away. Before he left, he had some parting words. You are only a stepping stone. You might have a strong hatred, but you are not as strong as Uzumaki Naruto or Midoshi. Your blood will not quench my mother's thirst. Only will their blood satisfy her, Gaara said. That comment did not sit well with Sasuke. Are you telling me that I'm weak? Sasuke demanded. Yes, you are weak. I will have no problem killing you. Get your affairs in order, Uchiha Sasuke, Gaara said and vanished in a swirl of sand. Kakashi watched the exchange. He looked at his student and saw the anger in his eyes. His fists were balled up and he was snarling. He knew the reason wasn't because Gaara had threatened to kill him. It was because he called him weak. He called him weak to his face, and that he didn't compare to either Midoshi or Naruto. In a way, Gaara was right. Midoshi was on another level. Anko even admitted that if the two were to fight again that she would not leave the battle without some serious injuries. The fact that she had been trained by the Hebi clan was something altogether. What really terrified Kakashi about the girl was that she had no issues when it came to killing. She would end Sasuke's life without a care if he crossed her. Naruto was a highly skilled genin. He knew the boy's skill set, which only got better with the training of his godfather Jiraiya. He had also improved greatly in Fuinjutsu, which was a surprise, but it shouldn't have been. He was Kushina's son and had her attitude, yet Kushina was a whiz at Fuinjutsu. Not only that, Naruto's chakra pool allowed him to use ninjutsu without getting too tired, and he could combine jutsu like his first sensei, the Sandaime. Naruto was on his journey to become the next shinobi no kami, god of shinobi. Sasuke never liked being compared, and he definitely didn't like to be called weak. He just knew that this was going to be a serious problem in the future. He only hoped that he could prevent it from happening. XXXXX. Chapter 44, Prelude to the Finals. It was 5 days until the Chunin exam finals would begin. Naruto and Jiraiya entered the village in the afternoon hour. Naruto looked dirty, and his clothes were torn up from the training that he went through. Jiraiya had a few smudges on his clothes, but nothing bad. Naruto looked different from his trails in the ruins of Uzoshogakure, hidden whirlpool. He had improved quickly due to the training that had been suggested by Kakashi. Naruto was at least twice as strong as he was a year ago. The Kage Bunshin training method allowed Naruto to learn several ninjutsu techniques and fuinjutsu. Jiraiya worked on his physical strength strategy and chakra pool. He had also improved his relationship with the Gamma clan, and was able to work with Gamariki. Naruto stretched as he entered the gates. It feels good to be back, Naruto said. That it does, boy, Jiraiya said with a smile. He was very proud of his godson. He was stubborn when it came to their training, but he stuck with it and grew. Anyway, I would go and get some new clothes. Remember, no more heavy training. Just relax and do some light training. Yeah, you don't have to tell me all the time you know. I'm not that hard-headed. Naruto complained. Some people who passed by them snorted in amusement at the statement. Drea laughed while Naruto pouted. XXX. The sounds of steel rang through the forest of death. Jacken and Tenten dashed at each other and clashed. They tried to gain an advantage on each other as they were locked. They pushed away and landed across from each other. Jacken spun one of the sickles of his new Korizagama as Tenten slipped into a stance with her staff. The two narrowed their eyes at each other, began pushing off their back legs. Just as they were about to clash again, a kunai stopped them. They looked up into the trees to see Anko sitting on a branch. The Jonin looked at the two genin with some respect. Jacken had learned how to use his new weapon in the short amount of time. His taijutsu had improved, and he had learned a few more Reitan jutsu. Tenten had improved in close combat, Anko showing her how to use all the weapons in her arsenal. Now, she didn't launch all her weapons in bulk and could hang with a few Chunin-level opponents. She also taught her some support jutsu to help her be more useful to her team. In all, she was proud of the two and happy at their improvement. Okay, you two, that will be enough training for the rest of the week. Jacken, continue to work with your new weapon, but do only light training. That goes both for you, Tenten. Just relax and go on that date that you two have been avoiding. Anko joked. Shut up. I've told you a dozen damn times that I don't like him. He's not my type. Tenten exclaimed. The feeling is mutual and I have told you to just ignore her. She is just trying to rile you up. Jacken said calmly. That's easy for you to say. You're used to her and I'm not. Tenten said. She's a lot better than Guy though. Jacken said. Tenten really had no comment for that. Anko just smirked. XXX. Yakumo sat in a meditative position. Unkai and Kurena watched as she began to channel the power of the Ito. Her hair whipped in the air, and her aura was visible for all to see. She held that position for a complete hour before stopping. She pitched forward and took some deep breaths. After a while she relaxed and stood up. Unkai walked up to her with a small smile. You did much better than before, Yakumo. I believe that this will be enough for the finals. Just remember that feeling you get when you begin to lose control and activate the seal. Unkai said. I understand, uncle. Thank you for taking care of me. Yakumo said with a happy smile. He returned it. Kurena just watched with a smile of her own. Yakumo had grown as a shinobi and she couldn't be any more proud. She had taught her the genjutsu in her arsenal and helped her create two techniques that could really cause some damage. Anko would come by sometimes and teach Yakumo some taijutsu and how to fight with two kunai. She was very confident that Yakumo could do well enough for a promotion. Kurena walked up to her one-time student and gave her a smile. How about we go to the hot springs to celebrate your success? Kurena asked. Yakumo quickly vanished and reappeared with her bath items. Kurena and her uncle just laughed at her and her love for hot springs. XXX. Is everybody ready? Mitoshi asked her teammates. She looked at the three with a cocky smirk, but in her mind she couldn't be more impressed with them. She and Garen worked out their issues during this training. While they would still insult each other, there was no longer that hate from before. The two had worked with each other and had increased each other's growth of skill. Konoha had also improved with her hair jutsu and had created a new style of fighting which would put anybody on edge. It was an unpredictable style that she found fit her. Keidro had also grown, improving her transformation skills. You couldn't truly tell anymore as she had taken her craft to lengths that could fool even a well-known censor. She improved her chakra, which improved her ninjutsu. Her team was a well-oiled machine, and they would have no issues in the invasion. That parasite Orochimaru would enjoy that. So are we going straight to Konoha? Garen asked. Not yet. I was summoned by one of the main snakes here and he has finished with my order for us. It will keep us protected when the shit hits the fan. Midoshi said. Well, that's unlike you. Garen commented. What can I say? You fodder have grown on me. Midoshi joked. She then got serious and looked at them. If it gets to be too much, I want you three to retreat. Orochimaru has always underestimated his foes and I feel that this will bite him in the ass. Just promise me that you will. I will obey your orders, mistress. Keitaro said. As will I, Midoshi Josie. Konoha added. Fine, I wouldn't want you crying over me anyway. Garen stated. Midoshi just smirked and led her team toward their destination. XXX. For the next 4 days, everyone was finishing their training. Shino, Sai Lee, Nejigara and Temurai had just ended their training and returned to Konoha for the finals. The only one who was still pushing themselves was Sasuke. He ignored the words of Kakashi, and continued to practice his new jutsu. Kakashi was at his wits' end with the boy and felt that he would not be able to reach him. He knew that the words of Gaara hit a nerve. He would just watch the boy and hope that he would not sacrifice his chances to compete. Since tomorrow was the finals, Anko had called her team together to have dinner. She treated the group and they entered the restaurant without any issues. She was kind of pouting, however, as she was banned from ever getting sake when she was with her team. It was made a law due to the incident that occurred. Her team laughed at her as they were served by the waitress. It's your own fault that this happened, Jacken said with a smirk. Oh, shut up. I swear you pull one prank and everybody is against you. Anko muttered. She looked over her team and mentally smiled. She had kept tabs on Yakumo, Jacken, and learned what Naruto had done from the pervert. She had to thank Kakashi for his help in improving Naruto's skills too. They all looked stronger from when she picked them up from the academy. Within the year that they had been a team, she had watched them grow into Chunin level ninja. She was pretty confident that they would be promoted. That would mean that their team would get broken up. That's kind of killed her mood. Naruto saw this, and wondered what was wrong. You okay, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked. Yeah, I'm just a little bummed. Tomorrow, my cute little genin are going to become Chunin, and that will be the end of our team. I guess I'm a little sad that I won't get to spill any more of your blood. Anko said sadly. First of all, that's just disgusting. Second of all, who said that the team is breaking up? Jacken asked. Anko looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, I'm not leaving the team. I know that we will eventually do missions on our own and we are happy that you have so much faith in us, but you still have much to teach us. Yakumo said. Yeah, you're not just going to do such a half-assed job in training us to be ninja, right? Your job isn't done yet. Jacken added. I agree. Until I become Hokage, Jacken becomes an Ami ninja and you get Yakumo and the Konoha Gamen Jinmon Butai, Konoha torture and interrogation force. You're stuck with us. Naruto said. Hey, I am not joining the Gamen Jinmon Butai. Yakumo exclaimed. But you're so good at it. You don't even have to hurt them, just scare them with your ghost powers. Jacken teased. How many times must I tell you to stop calling my skills that? Yakumo shouted. Anko just laughed at her students as they enjoyed the night. She felt a little better at the pep talk from her students. She knew things will be alright. XXX. Naruto returned home tired. He had some fun with his team and had just finished fixing their prop for the entrance of the finals. It was an idea that everyone was on board with, and they had to get some supplies. They had just finished the rig, and they couldn't wait until tomorrow. Now, he just couldn't wait to get some sleep. Hard day? A voice asked. Naruto stopped and looked into his living room. There seated on his couch was Midoshi. She sat calmly with her legs crossed and her arms laid out across the back. Naruto was a little surprised that she knew where he lived, but was instantly on edge. He looked to reach for something that was near his hallway closet, but he couldn't find it. Are you looking for these? And she placed several kunai on his table. Naruto sucked his teeth at the fact that he was not armed. That's when Midoshi disarmed herself and placed her things next to his. She returned to her comfortable position and motioned Naruto to sit. Having no other choice, Naruto took a seat right across from her. Good. I just wanted to talk to you. Our match is first after all, so why would I hinder your arrival to the stadium? Midoshi asked. What are you doing here, Midoshi? Naruto asked. I've come to see the work that the Gamma, Toad Sennin Hermit has done with you. I was not able to spy on your training as he took you out of the village. Also, it seems that both of our summonses have tightened their borders after we sent spies to learn about each other. Midoshi said with a smirk. Naruto cursed at that, which made Midoshi's smirk wider. She gave him a once-over before looking into his eyes. She stared at them for a while, as did Naruto. They were both memorized by each other's eyes, her with Naruto's blue ones and him with Midoshi's golden ones. After a while, the contact was broken. Heh, I guess that pervert has done his job well. It will be an exciting fight. Midoshi said with a wicked grin. I just don't get it. Naruto stated. You don't get what? Midoshi asked. Why do you do all this? It just can't be because of your love of battle. There has to be something more to this interest in fighting me. Like I told you before, you don't know what you're asking me to use that chakra that is within me. Naruto said. Oh, I know what I'm asking, Naruto. I want to fight that chakra, that raw, animalistic power, and to defeat it with my own power. Midoshi said. So it's all about your ego? Naruto asked. More like pride, Naruto. Do you know how we are viewed by everyone? We are viewed as evil deceivers and monsters. In a way, we are like that, but it is even worse due to our association with Orochimaru. I look to change that. I will show the world that we of the Heavy Snake clan are one to be respected and admired, just as the Gamma clan is. And what better way to do that than to defeat the new summoner of the Gamma clan? You and I are going to show everyone just how strong we are. When everything is done, I will be the victor, and my pride will be satisfied. Midoshi told him. This was a new side to the girl that Naruto met before. He couldn't fault her for her ambitions, as he had similar ones of him becoming Hokage. He looked at her with a serious, but calm demeanor. You're going to have to work for it, Midoshi. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato. If you're going to try and make a name for yourself through me, then get ready to fail. Naruto said. That made Midoshi smile wide. Good to know. Midoshi said and stood. She grabbed her weapons and walked toward his window. She placed one foot on the window before turning back to him. I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto. Be prepared for the fight of your life. With that said, Midoshi jumped out of the window and was gone. Naruto let out a sigh of relief and went to his room. He needed to be well rested for the upcoming battle. XXXXX. Chapter 45 Finals, Part 1. It was a beautiful day at the Chunin exam finals. People who had gotten tickets to see the event was piling into the stadium. The contestants were making their way inside and were led out into the field. As they entered, Midoshi couldn't help but wonder where Naruto was. She didn't see any member of his team and was curious. She turned when she saw a new face as an official trying to gain their attention. However, before he could speak, the sound of a cannon was heard. Everyone looked around, and then turned their attention upward to see a giant black ball. It was descending toward everyone. Everyone cleared out as the ball neared. They watched as the ball unraveled to reveal Team Anko. They all landed on the ground, each in a pose. A large sign landed on the ground. It read Konoha's super awesome and unbeatable team, Team Anko. Pyro shot in the air as Anko pumped her fist in the air. No need to worry, folks, Team Anko has arrived. Anko exclaimed. Everyone looked at the team like they were crazy. After a while, a huge cheer went through the crowd as they clapped for the show. Hiruzen, who was up in his cage seat, pinched the bridge of his nose and sighed. Anko looked real happy by the reaction. Midoshi was amused by it. The new official, Shiranui Genma, walked up to Anko and her team. If you're done embarrassing yourself, can we please get this show on the road? Genma asked with a smirk. You loved it, and you know it. Anko said. She then faced her team. Alright team, you have my permission to go all out. Show no mercy and spill some blood. You really need to stop that. Yakumo said. Anko just smiled and vanished. Genma got everyone in line, and they faced the crowd. Anko appeared next to her friend, Kurena. The red-eyed woman looked at Anko with frustration. Was that entrance really necessary, Anko? Kurena asked. Maybe not, but I got the crowd going. Anko said. Kurena just sighed while Asuma chuckled. Back on the field, after the Hokage gave his speech, Genma had just given the last of his instructions. Naruto could feel the eyes of Midoshi and Gaara on him, but he ignored it. He took a deep breath and readied himself for the battle that was about to start. Alright, let's begin. Everyone besides Uzumaki, Naruto, and Midoshi leave the field. Genma ordered. Jacken bumped fist with Naruto, while Yakumo hugged him and wished him luck. Naruto turned to face Midoshi, who was across from him. Having his staff out already, Naruto got ready. Midoshi just smiled at him. Don't be so tense, Naruto. This is going to be an enjoyable battle. You should relax. Midoshi said. Nerves. You'll have to forgive me. Naruto said with a smirk. Midoshi got into her stance, as did Naruto. Genma looked at the two and saw that they were ready. First match of the finals, Naruto, Uzumaki of Konoha versus Midoshi of Otagakure begin. Genma said. Naruto took off and thrust his staff at Midoshi. She blocked it with her bracers and lashed out with her sash. Naruto jumped back and started to use the first form Hiruzen taught him with the staff. Midoshi moved easily around the stabs and was within Naruto guard. He thrust out with spear hand thrust that Naruto ducked. The two engaged in a fast-paced close-quarters battle, which neither of them landed a blow on the other. Midoshi spun in a ball after avoiding Naruto's sweep. She lashed out with an axe kick. Naruto blocked the kick, but it broke the staff in two. Midoshi landed a spinning kick to his chest. She turned and was about to stab Naruto with her hand, but Naruto's hands were already in a seal. Doton Doria Taiga. Earth release, earth flow river, Naruto shouted. Midoshi was swept up by the river of mud. Naruto quickly did another set of hand seals. Doton Doriden. Earth release, earth dragon bullet. A dragon head appeared and fired off several balls of mud. Katan, Karyuden. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. Naruto launched a stream of fire which ignited the mud balls. Midoshi looked at it in surprise until she was consumed by the attack. She hit the wall on fire. Naruto waited for the flames to die down, but he could clearly see a burning husk. Midoshi popped out of the ground, ready to impale Naruto when a clone appeared to grab her wrists. Midoshi was very surprised, but that only lasted after Naruto drilled her in the face with a punch. Midoshi was sent flying, but was able to flip out of her fall and land on her feet. She rubbed her jaw, but she did not feel it break. She looked at Naruto with a mocking pout. That was not nice, Naruto. You don't treat a lady like that. Midoshi said. Considering that you wanted a fight, you shouldn't really be surprised by what just happened. Naruto said. Midoshi scoffed and stood straight. Point taken. How about we stop playing around, Naruto? No more pot shots at each other. Let's just go to our heart's content. Midoshi said. A serpent appeared around her arms and moved to her hand. The snake then spat out a weapon. It was sword with a flat blade that had a different pommel than a regular sword. Midoshi grabbed the blade and stuck it into the ground. Naruto summoned Sora and had the chimp turn into his Naginata form. Naruto got into his stance and waited. Both were channeling chakra at each other and everyone could feel the tension between the two. Attack! Naruto shouted. That's when the field was filled with clones. Midoshi was really surprised by this, But she did not lose her cool. She just held out her hands at the clones that descended on her. Senai Tajashu. Many hidden shadow snake hands, an army of snakes appeared from her arms and launched themselves at the clones. They were all destroyed by the snakes. Midoshi was surrounded by the smoke that was created by the dispelling. She barely dodged the blade of the Naginata. She ducked the swipe made by Naruto, but could not dodge the knee from Naruto. Naruto furiously stabbed at Midoshi, who was able to recover and dodge. She jumped away to gain some distance, but Naruto wouldn't let her. Futon Daitapa. Wind release. Great breakthrough, Naruto said, and launched a wind attack. Midoshi was sent flying through the air and slammed into the stadium wall with some force. Naruto was on her and reared the Naginata back to end the fight. Midoshi was not going to let that happen. She flicked her wrist to make the blade vibrate. Naruto saw this and quickly raised Sora to block. Midoshi lashed out and connected with Naruto's shoulder. Naruto was surprised as he swore that he blocked the strike. Midoshi smirked and was on the attack. Naruto ducked, dodged, and attempted to parry the strikes, but he was still getting cut. Sora was very confused as well. "What's going on, Naruto? Why aren't you blocking?" Sora asked seriously for the first time. "I am, but I can't predict that blade. It moves like a snake. I know how she's doing it, but it is one thing to know than to stop," Naruto said. The blonde was taking too many cuts, and he was slowly losing steam. Naruto took some blood from one of his wounds and placed it on his palm. He quickly did some seals and slammed his hand on the ground. "Kochios no Jutsu. Summoning technique," Naruto shouted. Midoshi looked at the smoke before a ball of water came at her. She swung her sword to cancel the technique. She cut the bullet in two and it crashed on the ground. Another bullet of water came at her and she attempted to cut it too, but this time, she was cut in her arms and her blade was sent flying out of her hands. She sucked her teeth and held her cut-up arms. The smoke had cleared and in front of Naruto was a toad that had on lipstick and a bow. Naruto let out a sigh in relief. Yamariki looked at the cut-up Naruto and scoffed. He looked at Midoshi, who was standing. "So, you are fighting her. I guess I can let you off the hook. She is no joke," Yamariki said. "No shit. It's a good thing that we got rid of that sword. We're going to have to take her out before she can get that sword again," Naruto said. "Very well, let's do this beautifully," Yamariki said while striking a pose. Naruto just pinched the bridge of his nose at the toad's antics. He could have sworn he heard Guy cheering. Midoshi just smirked at the duo and did the same thing that Naruto did. "Kochios no Jutsu," Midoshi shouted. Naruto and Yamariki tensed, waiting for the smoke to clear. When it did, Midoshi was holding a very large boa. Yamariki seemed to growl at the sight of the serpent. The snake looked at Midoshi and hissed angrily. "I thought I made it clear that you were never to summon me," Namushi hissed angrily. "I wouldn't summon you, but I figured that you would like to come out and deal with someone you know. I remember a certain toad that placed you in a very nasty genjutsu before throwing you off a cliff in the summon world," Midoshi said with a smirk. Namushi snapped her head around to see Yamariki glaring at her. Well, if it isn't the fairy," she hissed. "You shut your mouth, you brat," Yamariki exclaimed. Naruto looked at his partner with a raised eye. "Do you two have some type of history?" Naruto asked. "That little tart is the daughter of Manda. She had the nerve to call me that name and to bite my beautiful skin, leaving bruises. It took days for those blemishes to heal." "My beautiful skin," Yamariki said sadly. Naruto just sighed again. Namushi turned to Midoshi. "I will help you this time. I'm going to roast that toad and feast off his bones," Namushi said. She slithered off Midoshi as the girl did some quick hand seals. "Doton, Chidokaku. Earth release, moving earth core," Midoshi called out. The ground under the two dropped to the ground. When they looked around, They saw that they were looking up in a square-like hole. Naruto readied himself and stood next to Gamariki. Mamushi attacked suddenly, but Naruto was able to feel her coming. He nearly stabbed her, but she moved quickly. She spat out a blob of black liquid at the group. They jumped away to avoid it, and Mamushi disappeared back into the rock. Naruto observed the liquid and caught a smell. Before he could warn Gamariki, Mamushi attacked again. If she couldn't eat either one of the two, she would spit out the black liquid. She did this a couple of times, and the area around them would get smaller. It wasn't long until the two were back to back on a small piece of dirt. Damn it, she's surrounded us with this oil. How the hell can she do this anyway? From what Ero Sennin told me, only the toads can produce oil. Naruto asked. Well, she infiltrated our home and consumed some of the oil that we produced. Gamariki said nervously. Naruto looked at him out of the corner of his eye and saw the sweat rolling down him. Oh my god, it's your fault that she can do this, isn't it? Naruto shouted. Gamakiri did not answer him because Midoshi decided to attack. Katan Hibashiri. Fire release, running fire, she called out. A flame of fire ran down the hole and touched the oil. It ignited, and the two were covered in flames. Looking for a way out, it was quickly sealed off by Midoshi's next words. Doton Kekai Doro Damu. Earth release barrier, earth prison of magnificent nothingness. The sky was blocked out by the earth jutsu and blocked any escape. Midoshi kept her hands on the dome as Mamushi came out of the ground and slither around her. Very soon, it will be over and I'll have my meal and revenge. Mamushi said. Midoshi was smiling as well. That was until something hit the dome and blew a hole in it. It also sent both her and Mamushi flying in a watery vortex. From out of the hole, Naruto was riding Gamariki, and they quickly got out of the oven. They landed and faced the two who were standing up. Naruto channeled his wind chakra, and Gamariki gathered his water. Naruto placed his hands on Gamariki's back, and they shouted their attack. Futon, Gamatepo. Wind release, Toad Gun, they shouted. A powerful and fast stream of water came rushing at the two. It began to spread, covering a large area. Midoshi and Mamushi had to dodge the attack. It continued on and smashed into the stadium wall. The wall gave way and the attack punched a large hole into the side of the stadium. Midoshi reappeared on the side of the wall and looked at the damage that the jutsu had caused. Midoshi looked at the damage with surprise and looked at Naruto. Perhaps I should have taken my collaboration jutsu training more seriously. That attack would have seriously hurt, she thought. Naruto looked at Midoshi and realized that the fight was going to be more difficult as it went on. He licked his lips and closed his eyes. Gamariki, Sora, you two step back and get clear. What I'm about to do is going to be dangerous, Naruto said. Sora returned to his regular form while Gamariki looked at him. When he opened his eyes, they were red. The two summonses nodded and got out of the way. Midoshi saw the same thing and smiled. Time for you to go. Feast on the toad and the monkey. It seemed that Naruto is about to get serious, Midoshi said with glee. Mamushi left her without even asking and sunk into the ground. She watched as Naruto clapped his hands and expels his chakra. Only it was not his blue chakra. It was red. XXXXX. Chapter 46, Finals, Part 2. Everyone in the crowd started to sweat at the chakra that Naruto was pouring out. Everyone who experienced that day was fearful of what was happening. Anko, Hiruzen, and his teammates watched with worry, hoping that Naruto could keep it together. Even the Kasuke watched with some type of worry. Midoshi just watched Naruto as the red chakra he produced began to take shape and shroud him. He gained 2 ears and red chakra tail. His features were more pronounced, and he had claws. After some intense moments, Naruto took a few breaths to calm himself down. He looked at the chakra and flexed his hands. When he first used the shroud, which Drea called the Yoko no Koromo Demon Fox Shroud, it hurt like hell and he was very injured after its use. Through determination and a little cooperation, he managed to use it with a little difficulty. He turned to Midoshi and went down on all fours. In the cage's box, Hiruzen looked at Naruto with a smile. The Kasuke turned his attention to his fellow cage. So he's a Jinchuriki? It also looks like he has some sort of control. He said. Yes, through training and guts, he has found some sort of control. Now we will see just how good his control is. Hiruzen said. They turned back to the fight just as Naruto vanished from sight. Midoshi was surprised when Naruto appeared in her view. Naruto launched his attack, and a loud explosion was created. From out of the dust, Midoshi appeared in the air. He's fast, really fast. Midoshi thought. Futon, Keiskiri no Jutsu. Wind release, wind cutter technique, Naruto shouted. Midoshi twisted to avoid the blade of wind. She landed on the ground only to see Naruto again. She quickly substituted with a log that was destroyed on impact. Naruto turned and fired another Keiskiri no Jutsu that Midoshi had to dodge. She quickly did some hand seals. Katan Hosenka no Jutsu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage fire technique, Midoshi shouted and spat out a bunch of fireballs at Naruto. Naruto was too fast and dodged every attack. He took to the air and unleashed a deafening roar. Midoshi raised her arms to block and felt her feet drive into the ground. She found herself in a small crater. She quickly ducked Naruto punch and launched a punch at Naruto. Naruto moved and caught Midoshi with a kick to the gut. Using the tail, he wrapped it around her wrist. She winced at the burning feeling she got, but it hurt less than the explosion of the fist that connected with her body. He launched her in the air and hit her with a haymaker that sent her toward the wall. He did another set of hand seals. Katan, Korea Enden. Fire release, fire dragon flame bullet, Naruto roared and fired a huge stream of fire. Midoshi was consumed by the flames as it crashed into the side of the stadium. Naruto poured on the heat, and some of the wall was starting to melt. Naruto suddenly stopped and ducked a spear hand from Midoshi. He lashed out with a kick that sent Midoshi back some. Naruto turned to see that Midoshi was covered in slime and breathing very hard. She quickly got some distance and made it to her sword. She began to vibrate the blade and started to attack. Naruto met her and the two were engaged in an intense fight. Naruto still could not predict the sword, but it did not really matter. Midoshi saw this as well due to every cut being healed quickly. She broke away and thought about her options. The short break had everyone gather their thought about this fight. It was just awe-inspiring. The pariah was using the reason for the hate of the village and he was in control. Seeing that he had some type of control over the beast that caused such destruction, the crowd began to change their minds about Naruto. Midoshi was another one that they were worried about. They knew that the moves she used belonged to their greatest traitor, Orochimaru. They wondered if she would attack, but it looks like that she was way into the fight. They could only watch as the fight continued. Midoshi needed a way to deal with Naruto. Her chakra was dwindling due to the fact that she had to use the Hebish Kawarumi no Jutsu, snake shedding body replacement technique. She needed to end this fight, and she needed to do that now. Lucky for her, the break gave her an idea on how to do that. She made a move that made Naruto launch himself at her. She quickly did some seals and slammed her hands on the ground. Doton Ritsudo Tensha. Earth release, tearing earth turning palm, Midoshi called out. The ground spiraled into itself and Naruto began to lose his footing. Midoshi quickly did another set of hand seals, making Naruto jump into the air. Doton, Tobi Subute. Earth release, flying thrown stones. A large amount of stone created by the loose earth attacked Naruto. With another roar, Naruto destroyed the rocks, and quickly launched his arm upward. Midoshi was very surprised as a chakra arm caught her. She cursed as she was now caught. Naruto flung her into the ground with some speed and charged at her dazed form. He slammed his knees into Midoshi, making her spit up some bile. Naruto stood over the out-cold Midoshi only to watch her dissolve into mud. Naruto suddenly went rigid. He looked down at his stomach to see a blade through it. He looked back to see Midoshi behind him. She pulled the blade out, and Naruto dropped to the ground. The shroud had disappeared, and Naruto was struggling to stand. The heavy-breathing Midoshi just looked down at Naruto. That was intense, huh? She asked Naruto. Naruto grunted, and got to his knees. This made Midoshi smirk a little. A brave attempt, Naruto, but you will bleed out if you don't stop. You did well. You've excited me like none other. However, this victory is mine. I wouldn't be too sure of that, Naruto said weakly. Oh, why is that? Midoshi said. Because you allowed me to get that first punch. Fuin. Seal, Naruto exclaimed, and Midoshi froze up. Marks began to appear all over her skin and Midoshi could not move. What is this? Midoshi exclaimed. If I activated that seal earlier, you would have easily broken it. Naruto said. He did a seal and summoned a clone. The clone helped Naruto up. Midoshi could see that the red chakra was around the wound that her sword pierced through. Naruto held out his hand and the clone began to work with the chakra that Naruto released. From what Arrow Sennin told me, the guy that you work with would use a kawarimi that was similar to a snake. From what I understand, it takes a lot of chakra to do. You shouldn't have used those last two jutsu because it dropped your chakra more. You've had a plan since the beginning? Midoshi said. More like a contingency. Now, Naruto said, holding a familiar jutsu that had the crowd gasping. This is my victory. Rasengan. Spiraling sphere, Naruto slammed the ball of swirling chakra right into Midoshi's gut. The girl screamed as the ball grinded into her. She was sent flying in the air and crashed right under the crowd. She was on her feet and leaning in a man-sized crater. Naruto just kept watching and was shocked to see Midoshi take a step. She took another and another before falling flat on her face. Everyone watched and waited, but Midoshi was no longer moving. The fight was finally over. Genma walked over to Naruto. The winner of the first match is Uzumaki Naruto. Genma said. There was a loud cheer that rang throughout the stadium. Naruto just looked on before dropping to his butt. He held his stomach, which had finally closed. Thanks, Fox. I owe you one. Naruto said to the Kyuubi. The fox just scoffed at him. That's when Anko appeared next to her student and smirked. Hey sensei, Naruto said with a slur. How are you doing, kid? Anko asked. I'm just happy. I'm going to pass out now. Naruto said, and passed out on the ground. Anko just smiled, proud of her student. She lifted him and placed him over her shoulder. She turned to see Midoshi's sensei holding Midoshi in her arms. The two stared at each other before Garen vanished with her. Anko made her way to the medical bay to get treatment for Naruto. XXX. Man, that pipsqueak had me worried there. Jacken said. Yeah, he took a gamble on that move. Midoshi had him dead to rights. But that should teach us that we should never underestimate Naruto. Yakumo said with a relieved sigh. Temurai looked at her little brother who had a crazy smile on his face. She looked very worried and hoped that Gaara would keep it together. In the crowd, Kotetsu and Izuo were going over the match they just watched. Well, what do you think? Izuo asked. That was a great match. I don't see how it can be topped. Kotetsu said. So do you think that Naruto deserves to be promoted? Izuo asked. They both need to be promoted. Both showed amazing power, cleverness, and the ability to think ahead. I think either one could lead a group of ninja into battle and come out well. Naruto has my vote for Chunin. Kotetsu said. Mine too. Anko has a gem of a student. Izumo said. In the cage's booth, the Kasuke turned to Hiruzen. You have been keeping secrets, Hiruzen. Your Jinchuriki is very strong and the fact that he could control such power without losing himself is impressive. You are still a crafty man. The Kasuke said. You praise me too much, Kasuke. However, that was a very intense match. I'm very confident that my ninja will be promoted after this. What do you think? Hiruzen asked. Very much so, he does deserve the promotion. The Kasuke said. XXX. Garen laid Midoshi down and checked her over. She would be alright, but she was really hurt. She figured that it would take her weeks to heal up. She heard about that last jutsu the blonde used, as it was the jutsu of the Yondaime Hokage. How did that brat learn it? She would never know. However, Midoshi would have a nasty burn on her stomach. As Garen thought about her next move, something popped out of the ground. It was Mamushi, and she did not look to be in good health. You look like her. Garen said. The fairy and that monkey double-teamed me. Once I return home and heal, I'm going to hunt them down. Mamushi hissed angrily. She then looked at Midoshi. To think that she would be defeated, I'm glad to have seen it. I feel sorry for the blonde thought. Father will not be happy to see her in this state. Mamushi wrapped Midoshi carefully before vanishing with her. Garen stood alone until she was joined by Keitaro. Where is the mistress? She asked. She is being taken care of. Garen said without looking at her. She then faced her student. Let's go and watch the next match. XXX. Everyone was excited for this upcoming match. They were hoping that it was just as exciting as the last. On the field, which had to be fixed due to the major damage caused, Shino faced Sai. The pale boy smiled at Shino, whose expression you could not see. Genma stood between the two, and looked to see if either one of them were going to say anything. With no words said to each other, he started the match. Sai moved fast and pulled out his tanto. Shino ducked the slash and got some distance. As he moved back, he released a swarm of Kaikeiku, parasitic destruction insects at Sai. The boy dodged the swarm and ran away as the swarm chased him. Shino unleashed another swarm to try and cut him off. Sai quickly vanished and appeared on the side of the stadium. He quickly took out his brush and paper. He drew a bird and channeled his chakra. Chuju Giga. Super Beast imitating drawing, Sai said. A bird popped off the paper, and Sai jumped on the bird. Sai looked down at Shino, who had his swarm return. Sai did another Chuju Giga and several lions charged at Shino from the air. Shino did some hand seals and called out his jutsu. Mushi Kame no Jutsu. Insect jar technique, Shino said. The Kaikeiku surrounded Shino as a shield. They were flying in a dome shape at high speed. As soon as the lions hit the dome, they were destroyed. Shino stopped the jutsu and faced his opponent. Sai told his hawk to go higher just as a swarm nearly caught him. Shino looked at the smiling Sai and kept his expression. This battle was just getting started. XXXXX. Chapter 47, Finals, Part 3. The match had reached a stalemate, but Shino could see that Sai was making some sort of headway. The Mushi Kame no Jutsu insect jar technique was working, but Sai was now using ink birds to launch explosive attacks. His jutsu could not handle that, and now he had to come up with a new strategy. His first move was to ground Sai. It would take some chakra, but it would be worth it in the long run. Hijutsu Mushio's secret technique, insect gathering, Shino said. A large web of chakra surrounded the floor. Sai watched as bugs came out of every crack. They gathered and were forming a rising hill. Sai looked to go higher, but Shino was not about to allow that. He jumped onto the hill and was shot into the air. The speed of his ascension surprised Sai. Shino launched several shuriken that hit the bird that he was on. Sai jumped off as it dispelled. Sai was looking to make another bird, but Shino stopped him with another volley of shuriken. One hit Sai in the hand, forcing him to drop his drawing scroll. Sai used a kunai attached to a wire to stop his descent to the ground. He swung and landed on the wall. Shino was back on the ground, and the insects he summoned were returning to their homes. Shino unleashed his colony, and they went after Sai. Sai cut the wire and ran down the wall toward his scroll. He dodged gracefully and was able to reach it. Sai quickly drew another bird and was quickly on it. Shino just looked at him as Sai took to the air. That's when Sai flew right at him. The bird moved very fast and Shino could not put up a defense. Sai passed and sliced Shino. A little bit of blood sprayed out from the wound on his arm. Sai flew back into the air and turned back to make another dive. Shino pulled out a kunai and readied himself. He was able to block another slash, but the speed that Sai was moving at knocked him off his feet. His Kaikeku could not get Sai as he flew up in the air again. Sai decided to put several explosive notes on the bird he was on as it dove again at Shino. Shino stood and did his jutsu. Mushi Kame no Jutsu. Shino called out and the Kaikeku circled him. Sai jumped off of the bird and did a combat roll. As the bird hit the defense, he detonated the explosive tags. Most of Shino's colony was burnt to a crisp and Shino was sent flying. He hit the ground hard and rolled to a stop. Sai stood and made his way over to Shino. He looked at him and looked ready to finish the fight when he saw Shino move. That movement was Shino dissolving into Kaikeku and attacking. Sai dodged and landed across from Shino who was breathing a little hard. Sai smiled at him. You are quite skilled, Shino-san. I can see why Danzo-sama wished to train you. Sai said softly. It was not too loud so everyone could hear. Yet my family member was chosen instead. I do know of your master, and I would have refused his offer for training. Shino said with the same soft volume. Is that so? That's disappointing. Anyway, I believe that I will end this match. Sai said and prepared to strike. The match has already ended in my favor. Shino said. Sai looked confused until he grabbed his chest. It felt like something was digging out his insides. What did you do to me? Sai asked as he dropped to a knee. Torun trained you well. Still, I had an ace up my sleeve. My shuriken, I covered them in larvae that would have injected into the body if they connected. Shino said, surprising Sai. These larvae grow quickly, and if you are not a member of my clan, they attack you from the inside. Right now, they must be feasting on your heart or lungs. Shino explained. Sai was shocked until he smiled again. I now see why Danzo-sama wanted you. Sai said. He turned to Genma. I would like to surrender. The boy said. Genma nodded and looked at Shino. Shino walked up to Sai and placed his hand on his chest. He flared his chakra to signal the insects inside him. Sai grunted a little as a few bugs dug out of his chest. They walked up Shino's arm and into his jacket. With that, Shino walked away. The winner of the second match is a Barame Shino. Genma announced. The crowd clapped for the performance. XXX. Naruto groaned and opened his eyes. Everything was blurry, but that soon passed. He tried to move, but it hurt to do so. I wouldn't move if I was you, Naruto. Your body isn't healed from the strain of your fight. Naruto turned to see his sensei with a volume of Ika, Ika. Anko stopped reading and looked at her student. How are you feeling? I'm still pretty trashed. Using the fox's chakra hurts a lot. Let's not forget that Mitoshi put her hand in my chest. Naruto explained. So, should I disqualify you from the next match? Anko asked. What? No way. I'll be better in time for my next match. Maybe not at 100%, but I'll be ready. Naruto said. Don't rush it, kid. Besides, that Shino kid of Kurena's will not be some pushover. Anko said. Don't worry, I have something for Shino. Naruto said with a grin. That's when he realized something. Oh hey, that means Jaken's match is up next, right? That's right, but you will not be seeing it, or Yakumo's match. You're going to stay on that bed until I say otherwise. Don't argue with me, or I will stab you with Daku. Anko threatened. Naruto pouted, but relented. Anko just went back to reading, knowing that her Kage Bunshin shadow clone would dispel if anything happened. XXX. Jaken stood across from Temurai. He had his new Kyuubi out while Temurai unfolded her Tessen. In the stands, Tenten watched closely. She trained with Jacken with the weapon, and she hoped that Jacken would be alright. Back on the field, Temurai noticed that Jacken was looked at her funny, and it was starting to bug her. That's when he spoke. You know, you've got some nice legs. I think that's what I'll call you. Jacken said. Excuse me? Temurai said with an edge. Sorry, it's just a habit I have. I like to give people nicknames that fit them. You shouldn't feel insulted. You have some nice legs. Nice and smooth, you seem to take care of them. Temurai was snarling at Jacken. The teenager just smirked at her. What? You don't like it? Kamidachi no Jutsu, sickle weasel technique. Temurai roared and launched her attack. Jacken twirled one of the sickles on his weapon. He then tossed it at Temurai's jutsu. Temurai was shocked when his weapon was not blown away. She quickly rolled out of the way of the buzz saw as it passed. Jacken pulled the chain and it returned to him. The smirk never left his face. That's a bad thing, their legs. You can't allow anger to rule you actions. Jacken said mockingly. Temurai snarled and swung her fan again. Jacken did the same thing and launched his weapon. Again it cut right through her jutsu. Jacken threw the other sickle as Temurai. Temurai was forced to use her agility to dodge Jacken's attacks. She would launch a jutsu, but Jacken would quickly beat it with his Kyuubi. He managed to maneuver Temurai into the path of one of his sickles. Temurai used her closed fan to block the weapon. Metal grinded on metal before she batted it away. Jacken was inside her guard and brought the other sickle down in a chopping action. Temurai blocked it, and had enough strength to keep Jacken from pushing the tip of the blade into her forehead. She then kicked Jacken's arm, forced him to release the sickle. She flung it upward and away. This left Jacken defenseless. Temurai was about to clobber Jacken until he pulled the chain. Temurai saw the two sickles closing in around her stomach, and quickly substituted with a log, which was bisected. Jacken turned to face Temurai, who unfolded her Tessen. Jacken got into a stance and began to twirl his sickles again. Temurai was trying to think of a way to beat this guy. She already deduced that his weapon was able to cut through her attack. It was probably because of the spin that he could do with the weapon, or the weapon was designed to do just that. Either way, her most used jutsu was out. She needed to get her head in the game and finish him off. She suddenly did 3 big swings. The final swing created a sandstorm that came at Jacken. Jacken did hand seals and slammed his hands on the ground. Doton Thoroku Geishi, Earth Release, Earth Return Shore. Jacken called out. A large slab of the earth rose to protect him from the sandstorm. He stayed close to the wall as the storm passed. When it cleared, he was surrounded by clones. Jacken did a wide sweep with his weapon, but Temurai vaulted over it. She landed a dropkick that backed Jacken up. She popped up and threw a spinning thrust kick. Jacken dodged the kick that hit the wall. Temurai used her Tessen and the wall to hold herself in the air. She caught Jacken in the jaw and Jacken stumbled. While he was stumbling, Jacken pulled on his chain. This jerked Temurai forward and into a kick from Jacken. He then whipped the chain, launching Temurai into the air. Jacken followed her and threw a roundhouse kick. Temurai blocked it, and was sent flying into a sand bar. Jacken landed on the wall and jumped up, whipping his weapon around. Knowing what was coming, Tenten, Yakumo, and every other ninja hit the deck. Kyafu Dejishin, quake with fear. Jacken shouted, and launched the sickle into the ground. Temurai was quick to her feet, just as chains popped out of the ground and launched all around the stadium. Jacken landed on the chains as did Temurai. Wow, those legs aren't just for walking, huh? He asked with a smirk. Stop looking at my damn legs. Temurai shouted. That's when Jacken grabbed the chain. Reiton Kanjkia, lightning release, wave of inspiration. Lightning erupted from his hand and through his chains. Temurai realized too late and was shocked with some volts. She hit the ground, twitching from the bolts of lightning that she got hit with. Jacken stopped his jutsu and landed on the ground. He dispelled the chains and relaxed. Genma checked over Temurai and saw that she would be fine. The winner of the third match is Watanabe Jacken. Genma announced. Jacken just soaked up the cheers, and he made his way up to the stands. On his way, he was stopped by Tenten. She did not look happy. "What's up with you? Angry that I got to show my greatness?" he asked. "What the hell was that?" Tenten demanded. "What the hell was what?" Jacken asked confusingly. "The flirting that you did with that Sunaku Noichi?" Tenten snarled out. By now, the two had a small crowd of people watching them. "Flirting? That was strategy. I called her legs to throw her off her game. I just did it to piss her off just like I do to you, Yakumo, Naruto, Anko-sensei, everybody. You lose focus when you're angry, and I used that to my advantage," Jacken said. Tenten seemed to calm down after that. "Still, I don't know why all you women get so angry about anyway. I actually compliment her. She does have a nice pair of legs." The people around them went ew when he said that. Jacken looked at Tenten, who began to shake. Her fists were clenched, and the anger in her eyes put Jacken on edge. You. Tenten growled. "What the hell are you so angry about? Don't tell me that you're jealous," Jacken asked. "That broke the dam. You baka." Tenten roared before giving him a very hard, earth-shattering slap across the face. The crack was heard all around the stadium. In the competitors' box, Yakumo just shook her head at Jacken's scream. "Why, Cammy? Why did you place me with two boys who are completely clueless about women?" she muttered. Against the wall near the other Jonin, Anko was laughing her ass off. "Oh man, those two are going to be a very fun couple to tease," Anko said between chuckles. "Yash. My young, beautiful Tenten is only showing the spirit of her maturity. Show him, Tenten, show him the power of your love," Guy exclaimed. It earned him a kunai flying at his head. "Oh Cammy, stop it. You're killing me," Anko said while laughing. She hit the ground in a pool of laughs. Kirena just sighed at her antics, while Asuma let out a belly laugh. XXXXX. Chapter 48, Finals, Part 4. It was now time for the fourth match. Konoha stood across from Yakumo, both with intense glances. Everyone was watching very closely. Everyone thought that the only exciting match would be Sasuke's, but they were proven wrong. Already they had 3 great fights, and the 2 which were the most exciting was from Anko's 2 male students. It was a great showing, and they expected nothing less from the heiress of the Kurama clan. They waited with anticipation. Genma started the match, and the fight started with a clash of steel. Yakumo's dagger was at a standstill against Konoha's Fuma Shuriken. They both fought for supremacy, but neither was gaining an edge. That worried the Fuma member, as she knew about Yakumo's frailty. They pushed off each other and engaged in a fight of blades. Both were looking for a clean cut, but they were missing each other by a hair. Yakumo moved it and caught Konoha's arm. She landed a blow to her chest that stunned her. Konoha recovered quickly and nailed her with an elbow. This made Yakumo release her. Konoha grabbed her battle kimono and fell back. She threw Yakumo over her and rolled on top of her. She attempted to stab her with her shuriken, but Yakumo was able to recover and deflect it with her dagger. Konoha tried again, and Yakumo used the dagger to hold the weapon off. As Konoha attempted to push the tip into her, she caught a glint in her eyes. Konoha found her surroundings different. She took her eyes off Yakumo to see that they were no longer in the stadium. When she turned back, she was straddling a pile of snakes. They hissed and launched themselves at her. She quickly got away, slashing and hacking at the serpents. As she backed away, her feet started to feel hot. She looked down to find herself on hot coals. Konoha jumped into the air only to be blasted with a flying kick. She hit the ground, but was quick to get off the ground to avoid getting burned or stabbed. She launched her hair at Yakumo, but the girl was nimble enough to avoid the attack. That's when she began to do hand seals. Magen Jigoku Koka no Jutsu. Demonic illusion, descending hell technique, she shouted. Konoha was now feeling the heat as a large fireball was coming at her. Knowing who she was fighting, Konoha pulled out a syringe and stabbed herself in the arm. She pushed down, and whatever was in it entered her system. That's when everything changed back for her. Yakumo was on edge and wondered what the hell she stuck herself with. I only have a short time, so this is about to get real serious real quick, Konoha stated and launched her hair at Yakumo. Yakumo moved quickly to avoid the attack. Each tendril of hair was quick and tried to skewer her. She kept on the move, launching shuriken at the older teen. Yakumo's luck would run out as Konoha was able to outflank her and wrap her up. She speared her with her hair, but Yakumo only dissolved into blossom petals. Sucking her teeth, she quickly planted her hair into the ground. Kamishigor, Higinmori. Hair shower, steel forest spears of hair shot out of the ground from all sides. It surrounded Konoha, protecting her. This would work for her as Yakumo was cut. Yakumo quickly reappeared and was on a knee. She was attempting to hit her with a genjutsu, but then she used that technique. While the 2 cuts she received on her arm was nothing, the gash on her leg hurt like hell. That's when Konoha pressed her attack. Kamishigor Roga. Hair shower, wolf fang wolves came out of the forest and rushed Yakumo. Victory was all but assured, but that's when Yakumo began to glow. Magen Mujutsu. Demonic illusion, moonless sky. Konoha watched as everything turned back. Her wolves were shredded to pieces as 2 huge black wolves appeared. Yakumo looked at her with her waving hair and her glowing eyes. I do not know what you injected into yourself, but it must help you neutralize my genjutsu. However, it will not neutralize this one. This is my special genjutsu, and it cannot easily be broken by normal means. You will not escape the nightmare of the Mujutsu world. Genjutsu Kochiyos Sen Yurii. Illusionary technique summoning, 1,000 ghosts. Konoha watched with awe as an army of ghosts rose from the ground. They were armed and armored. With a signal motion, the army charged. Konoha attacked the ghost, but her attacks would go right through them. Seeing that she could not attack the ghost army, she moved to attack the caster. That would be useless as Yakumo's wolves would not allow it. The army was upon her and quickly overwhelmed her. She tried to fight it, but she could not. That's when Konoha began to convulse. Yakumo looked on with worry. She created this genjutsu with the ability to knock her opponents out. What she was seeing, it looked like she was dying. She quickly dispelled her 2 jutsu and watched as Konoha twitched on the ground. That's when Guren appeared on the field. She pulled out another syringe and stuck Konoha. Everyone watched as Konoha began to slowly stop convulsing. Guren then faced Genma. As her sensei, I am withdrawing her for competition, Guren said. Genma nodded and faced the crowd. The winner of the match is Kurama Yakumo, Genma said. There were some cheers, but they were wondering what was going on with the Odo Nen. Guren took the older teen and placed her over her shoulder. She disappeared in a shower of crystals. Yakumo just walked back to the competitor's box. She gave a happy wave to her family who were cheering her on. XXX. Hiruzen watched with a smile. Team Anko had won all of their fights, and had done it with some great skill. They all showed incredible forethought and were prepared with backup plans. It was something that was not done in quite a while, but he would be shocked if not all of Team Anko weren't promoted to Chunin. Seeing the smile, the Kasuke looked at him. Something amusing, Hokage? He asked. I'm just happy that Konoha's future will be in good hands. I can truly focus on more important matters, Hiruzen said. Oh, if I may ask, what other matters are you speaking about? He asked. Why, correcting the mistake I made all those years ago, my wayward student, Hiruzen stated. There was a reaction from the guards, but not from the Kasuke. He just chuckled at the old man. I wonder what Suna will think when they learn of your betrayal. Very good, sensei. The voice said, changing to a familiar voice. Will you reveal my deception? No, I know that you will not launch your attack until you witness Sasuke's match. For now, let us enjoy the complete blunder that you made when you released a talent like Anko. She's done much better at teaching than you. Hiruzen said. Orochimaru just scoffed and turned his attention back to the match. XXX. Outside of the stadium, Garen looked at Konoha with a frown. Next to her, Keijiro stood and looked at her teammate with concern. You are a stupid child. 8 minutes, and you went over it. That venom would have killed you if I did not interfere. Did you forget the promise that you made to Midoshi? Garen chided. I just wanted to win to defeat that girl. It was why she gave me the venom. I just wanted to make her proud. Konoha said. How can she be proud if you're dead? You swore to her, just like Keijiro, to stay at her side forever. Do not throw your life away for victory. Garen said. Konoha just nodded and kept her head down. What is our next move, sensei? Keijiro asked. You two are to get out of the village and return to Odo. You will not participate in this fight. Get out as quick as you can, return to the cave and wait for me to return. Garen ordered. Yes, sensei. They said and left. When they were out of sight, Garen turned slightly to her left. I will assume that they will be let go. Garen asked. Maybe not. It all depends on how good you're trained, those two. Anko said. Well then, I do not need to worry. I will see you on the battlefield. Garen said and walked away. Anko just grinned and vanished with a puff of smoke. XXX. Rock Lee was excited as he faced his rival Neji. He was ready to show Neji just how much hard work he had done to win. Neji just looked at him and settled into his stance. Rock Lee did the same with a smile on his face. Genma started the match immediately. Lee charged at Neji and attacked. It was an amazing showing of taijutsu. Lee was not afraid to engage Neji, who used the Jukin to the best of his ability. Lee was able to take the blows and keep on going. Still, Neji was still a prodigy, and he was showing just exactly how good he was. Konoha senpu? Leaf Hurricane, Lee shouted. He lashed out with 3 kicks. Neji dodged 2, but the third landed flush on his jaw. Taking the blow, Neji spun into a palm strike that landed, and sent Lee a few feet away. Lee tumbled a little before popping up onto his feet. He got into his stance, and had a smile on his face. As expected, you are still so strong. However, I have not begun to fight yet. Lee exclaimed. You may have gotten a little better, but it will do you no good. No matter how hard you work, you can never beat me. Even if you take off your weights, it will be useless. Neji commented. We'll see. Lee shouted. As he removed his weights, they made a loud thud on the ground. He began to unwrap his bandages. Crossing his arms, Lee's body began to twitch. Neji was confused until Lee vanished. Neji raised his hands to his face to block the dust that Lee kicked up from circling him. In an instant, Neji felt the ground leave his feet. His jaw hurt like hell, and he was stunned. Lee continued his assault with a series of kicks that launched the two higher into the air. Lee then wrapped Neji with his bandages and trapped him in a cocoon. He grabbed him and began to spin. Emote wrench. Front lotus, Lee cried out. As they descended in a tailspin, Neji regained his bearings. Noticing that he was trapped, Neji went back to his training with Hayashi. Jukenpo Ichijikishin. Gentle fist art, one blow body, Neji called out. This freed Neji from the bandages and blasted Lee away from him. Because of the spin action, the two were sent toward the ground, spinning and twirling like crazy. Neji managed to correct himself and landed. Lee was not so lucky, and he hit the group kind of hard. As Lee got to his feet, he looked to see that Neji was in his face. Rokujuin Sho. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Neji shouted. Neji hit Lee with 2 consecutive strikes. It was soon followed by 4 strikes, then 8 strikes, the 16 strikes, then 32 strikes and finally 64 strikes. The final 2 strikes were very powerful because Neji stepped into them. Lee was sent flying and hit the ground with a thud. Neji got his breath back while he looked at Lee on the ground. Genma was about to call the match, but to his and Neji's surprise, Lee pushed himself to his feet. He stood on his feet shaking. Neji looked at his teammate with surprise, but he quickly schooled his features. It's pointless, Lee. I'll agree that you are better than before, but you cannot defeat me. Neji spoke. We will see about that. Lee said tiredly. He crossed his arms again and gave Neji a very serious glance. Remember, my friend, the lotus always blooms twice. Lee said. With a shout, Lee began to unleash chakra, something that should not be possible. Seimin. Gate of life, Lee exclaimed. The ground cracked around him. His skin began to turn red and veins were beginning to show. Shaman. Gate of pain, Lee coiled like a serpent before launching himself at Neji, creating a huge explosion. Neji felt incredible pain as Lee's foot connected with his face. Lee moved around the arena and battered Neji. He knocked him around like a pinball. Tommen. Gate of limit. Lee glowed for a brief moment before he blasted Neji into the air. He then reappeared above him and blasted him back toward the ground. With that attack, Lee managed to tie one of his bandages around his waist. Lee pulled him back toward him, using the bandage. Neji opened his eyes and saw that Lee was preparing to use a very powerful attack. He knew that if this landed, he would be done for. He quickly broke free of the bandage, but he could not stop the incoming attack. He then expelled his chakra from all of his points. It was a long shot, but he had no choice. Forming a dome, Neji willed himself into a spin. Yura Renge. Reverse Lotus. Hakusha, Kaiten. 8 trigrams palms, revolving heaven. The 2 attacks clashed, and an explosion followed after. Chapter 49 Finals, Final Part. Everyone watched with bated breath as the dust covered the area. They were excited and wanted to see who won the fight. It was just so exciting. Who won this match? Was it the Hyuga prodigy or the mini guy? The anticipation was killing some people. Once the smoke cleared, they could see that both boys were on the ground. They laid unmoving and were beaten up. Lee's leg and arm were not bent the right way. Neji's chest was exposed from 2 impact marks that were there. Everyone could see the red welts. Genma waited for a while before calling the match. He was about to call this a draw when the most amazing thing happened. Neji and Lee were finally moving. Through sheer will, both teams forced themselves to their feet. They ignored the pain that was shooting right through them. They faced each other and it looked like they were going to continue their fight. However, after a while Genma noticed that neither was moving forward. He made his way over to Neji, was barely standing. He could see blood coming out of his mouth. He checked on Lee and saw that he was unconscious. Sensei, I can no longer continue. I will like to surrender. Neji stated. Genma just smiled at the boy before facing the crowd. Due to Hyuga Neji's forfeit and Rock Lee's unconsciousness, this match is declared a draw. Genma said. Neji looked surprised and saw that Lee was indeed unconscious. He began to chuckle, but it hurt greatly too. The medics made their way to the 2. Guy arrived to help Lee while Tenten checked on Neji. She yelled at him and Lee for going so far. The crowd cheered for the 2 teen males of Team Guy. XXX. Holy shit, that was intense. Jacken said. Everyone was watching as the 2 got carted off for medical assistance. Yeah, I need to up my training a little. I had a plan for either one of them, but even I have doubts that I would have defeated either one of them. Still, Lee must be smiling on the inside. He might not have defeated Neji, but he fought him to a draw. That's an accomplishment. Yakumo said. Naruto just nodded at the explanation. He then looked around and saw Gaara walk past him. The two locked eyes and Gaara gave him a hard glance. He continued on his walk to the grounds to fight Sasuke. Naruto could only wish Sasuke well because he was going to need it. XXX. Gaara arrived on the grounds and made his way to the center of the field. He folded his arms and waited for Sasuke to enter. After a while, there was still no sign of Sasuke. The crowd was starting to get annoyed and restless. They demanded that Sasuke would show himself. They wanted to see Sasuke fight, and they wanted to see him fight now. When it looked like Genma was about to disqualify Sasuke, he appeared with Kakashi in a swirl of leaves. The crowd cheered for his arrival. "Are we late?" Kakashi asked. "Yeah, you are. I was about to disqualify your student. You're lucky he's the last match of the first round. Let's hope that the wait was worth it. He has a lot to live up to." These finals were pretty exciting, Genma said. Kakashi looked around and saw that field was in ruins. His lone eye widened at the destruction. "Oh wow, you're right. Well, don't let me keep you," Kakashi said. He vanished, leaving Sasuke to face the demon that was Gaara. Kakashi appeared next to the other Jonin. "Hey guys, what did I miss? Good Kami, will you ever be on time?" Anko asked. "I don't know. Will you go back to wearing the fishnet thing?" Kakashi asked. "Why, you want to see my breasts or something?" Anko asked with a grin. "If you two are done flirting, what took you so long, Kakashi? If Sasuke had got disqualified, Pops would have demoted you to Genin." Asuma said. "Yeah, I just need to make sure that Sasuke's new jutsu was ready. He will need it against this kid. He isn't normal," Kakashi explained. "You got that right, but if you taught him what I think you taught him, you might come to regret that. I've looked into his eyes and I know you have too," Anko said. "I know, but I will have faith in him," Kakashi said. Everyone turned their attention to the grounds as Genma started the fight. XXX. Sasuke moved fast and was inches from Gaara. He launched a punch that was easily blocked. Sasuke tried again, but it was once again blocked. Sasuke increased his speed and attempted to hit Gaara from every direction, but the sand was just too fast for him. Sasuke was starting to get frustrated. Gaara was starting to get annoyed and stopped defending. Sasuke moved with swiftness and escaped the sand. Sasuke decided to go with Kakashi's plan, despite the time it would take finish the fight. He did some seals and took a breath. "Suton Mizurappa." "Water release, wild water wave," Sasuke shouted, spitting out a large volume of water. Gaara raised his sand to protect him. Sasuke moved around him and did another Mizurappa. Gaara defended against this as well. Sasuke did the same jutsu for a third time and Gaara protected himself again, but Sasuke saw that the sand was slow and Gaara got splashed. Sasuke moved it. The sand moved to catch him, but Sasuke was able to dodge. He was in Gaara's face and smashed his fist into Gaara's jaw. Gaara was shocked by this and was sent flying. His sand could not get to him in time. With a smile, Sasuke charged at Gaara. XXX. That wasn't a bad plan, Kakashi. Soaking his to make it slower was a great strategy. Still, he should have kept it up, Anko said. "What do you mean?" Kakashi asked. Anko pointed at Gaara and Kakashi noticed cracks along the boy's face. "I see. He uses his sand as armor as well. I didn't see that considering how quickly he dealt with that other boy. Still, I don't think that Sasuke would have continued to use the jutsu even if it was going to give him an edge." "What are you talking about?" Kurena asked. "Sasuke only wanted to learn the one jutsu I was training for. He felt that it was all he needed to beat him, but I reconsidered it when he approached him during the training. He fought me on it when I had enough and ordered him. It was not a pretty sight," Kakashi said with a sigh. "That's a cause for concern, Kakashi. Maybe you should consider talking to Pop about this," Asuma said. "I think I will," Anko, when you speak with Naruto, tell him to stay clear of Sasuke. Gaara pretty much dismissed him for your student and that Mitoshi girl. It only added fuel to the fire. Kakashi said. You don't have to worry about Naruto. That kid is stronger than before. I'll relay the message, but if Sasuke comes at him, the kid is in for a big surprise. Speaking of a surprise, it seems that your student has begun to lose his advantage. Anko said. They all turned back to the match. XXX. Sasuke jumped away and got some distance. He was now on the defensive, and he did not like it one bit. He was having his way with Gaara when he felt his fists begin to hurt. When he looked at Gaara, he saw cracks on his face. He realized that Gaara coated himself with sand and used it as armor. Sasuke ignored it and decided that he would rip that armor away, piece by piece. That was until Gaara changed his tactics. Gaara jumped into the air and landed on a clump of his sand. It took him above him and Gaara was now airborne. This did not bode well as Gaara attacked from above. The sand was still quite slow, so it was easy to dodge. Sasuke attempted to knock Gaara down using his no Katan jutsu. However, they were all blocked by the sand. That's when things got worse as the sand began to pick up speed again. Sasuke was nearly caught several times. He could not understand why this was happening. He just kept firing Katan at Gaara. Gaara finally returned to the ground and gave Sasuke an evil smirk. Suna Shuriken. Sand Shuriken, Gaara said. Several bullets came at Sasuke at an alarming pace. Sasuke was hit and cut by the attack. Gaara launched another volley and Sasuke was sent running. He took cover behind one of the trees as Gaara continued to bombard him with attacks. Sasuke was breathing a little hard and was trying to figure out what happened. Come out, Uchiha, and face your death. I told you, you are only an appetizer to my real target. Do not keep me from them any longer. Gaara exclaimed. That hit a nerve in Sasuke and he growled. He remembered what Gaara said to him that day, and he did not forget it. He took a look out and his Sharingan landed on Naruto. He growled and ran up the side of the stadium. Gaara watched until he reached the very top. Once there, Sasuke did some hand seals. He held his wrist as lightning appeared. XXX. You have got to be kidding me. Are you seriously mental? Anko exclaimed. It was the only jutsu that could pierce through the shield. I know that you are angry that I showed it to him, but he is the only one who could actually use my original jutsu and be successful. Kakashi explained. But you had to know that Sasuke is not exactly stable. What if he turns that jutsu on a comrade? Can you really be alright with the consequences that come with that? Anko argued. Kakashi had no answer for that. That's when it got ugly when Sakura got up. Hey, leave my sensei alone. He did what he did to help Sasuke-kun. He isn't unstable, and would never use it on a comrade. Sakura shouted. What the hell do you know, fangirl? Anko snarled, making Sakura gulp. Anko, that's enough. I will not have throwing killing intent at my student. Kakashi exclaimed. Anko scoffed at the two and walked away before she killed something. Kakashi just stood there and sighed. He scratched his head and hoped that she was wrong. XXX. Gaara watched the lightning and narrowed his eyes. He did a seal, and his sand began to surround him. It formed a dome of sand. An eye appeared and watched Sasuke. The Uchiha saw this, but it would not deter him from proving to Gaara that he was the strongest. He charged at the dome, his hand digging into the ground. He hit the ground running and sped toward the dome. His Sharingan read all of his moves and was able to dodge. Within range, Sasuke thrust his arm forward. Kudari. Sasuke roared. The jutsu worked, and his arm went right through the dome. He felt his hand connect with flesh and felt blood around his hand. He stayed that way and waited for Gaara to fall. However, that did not happen. After a shrill scream was heard. That was followed by a snap of bone. Sasuke roared out in pain, and struggled to remove his arm. He was able to get it out, but he would not be fast enough to dodge the spike of sand that came at his head. Lucky for him, Kakashi was able to move fast enough to prevent Sasuke's death. They both looked at his arm, and could see that it was snapped in two. Kakashi looked back to see the dome fall. When he did, he saw the crazed look of Gaara. He also saw where Sasuke landed his attack. Gaara looked at the two with nothing more than murder. "I'm going to kill you all," Gaara roared. In his seat, Hiruzen was about to make a signal to stop Gaara when he had to dodge a couple of shuriken. He landed on the roof and threw some shuriken at Orochimaru. The man dodged, ripping off his disguise. He managed to get behind Hiruzen and held a kunai to his throat. He then dissolved into mud, revealing an explosive tag. Orochimaru managed to escape, and the two ended up facing each other. While this was going on, feathers began to fall among the crowd. Their eyes began to feel heavy, and they were quickly going to sleep. The shinobi who recognized the genjutsu quickly dispelled the genjutsu just in time to defend against several Odo and Suna ninja who were in disguise. The fighting began as the Konoha shinobi fought to protect the villagers. The anda that was stationed there got the daimyos out of the arena. The invasion of Konoha had begun. Chapter 50 The Invasion Part 1. Gaara roared as he held his shoulder. He used his sand to stem the bleeding, and then thrust his hand forward. The sand rushed at Kakashi, who was holding Sasuke in his arms. Kakashi jumped out of the way and kept on his toes. He wasn't about to get caught in that sand. Genma attempted to help by firing the senbon in his mouth, but the sand protected him. Gaara lashed out at him as well. Gaara was crazed and wanted the death of the boy who had just hurt him. He would not get away. That's when he felt someone coming for his left. He turned only to get punched in the face. He looked to see it was Naruto. With a growl, a spear of sand impaled him in the chest. However, Naruto burst into smoke, revealing him to be a clone. Naruto appeared through the smoke, his fist already being thrown. Futon Senpuken. Wind release whirlwind fist. Gaara was sent flying in the air after a giant adaptable whirlwind slammed into his chest. Gaara hit the wall and was sent through it. It did not stop him as he went through several trees and a house. Naruto stood there and released a breath. He knew that this would not hold Gaara down. He looked at Kakashi. "Get Sasuke out of here." Kakashi did not want to leave Naruto, but he knew that he could come back quickly. He vanished, leaving Genma with him. Naruto turned his attention back to the hole. The explosion of the competitor's box did not distract him. From out of the dust, Temurai flew out on her fan. She coughed a little before turning her attention back to the smoke. That when several shuriken came flying toward her. She jumped off and used her fan to blow them away. The wind jutsu suddenly dispelled the shuriken to reveal explosive notes. The explosion sent Temurai crashing into the ground. She quickly shook off the cobwebs and got to her feet. She opened her fan and kept her eyes on her surroundings. "I know that you're around here. Show yourself," Temurai shouted. "Very well," Yakumo's voice said in her ear. Temurai spun quickly to dodge the strike. She closed her fan and raised it in one fluid motion. Yakumo dodged the clubbing blow and moved to catch Temurai with her dagger. Temurai swung her fan, making Yakumo block it. Yakumo was sent a few feet before skidding to a stop. Yakumo got into her stance as did Temurai. The two faced each other on the other side of the field. Kankuro jumped out into the streets and took off. Jacken was after him and tossed one of his sickles at Kankuro. Kankuro jumped away and slammed his shoulder into a door. He entered the house and removed the puppet from his back. He immediately fired several senbon at Jacken, who just entered. Jacken was forced back as he defended himself from the barrage. When it was over, Jacken got into his stance and waited. The puppet appeared in front of the door and faced him. "Heh, staying behind your doll, huh? That's a safe bet," But don't think that it will help you in this fight. Jacken said. Well, aren't we cocky? Don't think you'll get in my head, like you did my sister. I'm not one to lose my cool like that. Kankuro said from behind his puppet. Jacken just readied himself and prepared for the fight of his life. XXX. Kakashi quickly fixed the bone in Sasuke's arm. It hurt the boy, but he could not be gentle. There was a battle going on and he needed to get back into it. He fashioned a sling for the arm and carefully placed the arm in the sling. He looked to see Sakura and Shikamaru. He quickly summoned something. When the smoke cleared, it was a small pug. He took a sniff and decided to call them out. Sakura, Shikamaru, Shino, front and center now. Kakashi commanded. Shino quickly arrived while Sakura took her time due to the flying weaponry. Shikamaru groaned and made his way to the group as well. This is an A-rank mission. I need you three to take Sasuke and Lee to a shelter. You are to stay there until further instruction. Is that understood? Yes, sir. They said. This is Pakun. He will be your guide to the nearest shelter. Kakashi said. Yo. The pug said. Kakashi then created a hole using an explosive note. He covered their escape as they grabbed the two injured genin and left. Watching them, a man with an ambi mask and 9 Odo ninjas stood as the fighting continued. Well now, where are you going? The masked ninja said. He made a hand motion, and the 9 got ready to move. That was until a voice shouted out Senajashu hidden shadow snake hands. All 9 ninja were bit by snakes. When they hit the ground, they began to spaz out. The Anbu was able to escape, but his attacker was right on him. She attacked with some vigor, nearly catching him off guard several times. He was able to back her off with a glowing hand. Anko slid back and quickly did some hand seals. Katan Hosenka no Jutsu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage fire technique. Anko shouted and fired several fireballs at the man. He was able to get away without too much injury, but he got tagged at least twice. He growled at the burns, but turned his attention back to Anko. She was right on top of him when another voice called out. Shoton, Shuriken Ranbu. Crystal release, Shuriken wild dance. Anko used a Kawarami to escape the assault. Another volley of Shuriken came at her and Anko pulled out her sword. Using great skill, she deflected any Shuriken away from her. When it was done, the two femme fatales stared each other down. The man in the mask stood up straight behind her. You sure took your time, Garen. He said. He suddenly dodged as Garen took a quick swipe at him. While she missed, she did get his mask, which split and revealed who was under the mask. Was that really necessary? You were already caught, and they already know who you are. Why keep up the pretenses? Now go. You are not needed or wanted here. Garen said. Kabuto scoffed, but did as he was told. Leaving the two, Anko just had to ask her something. So why exactly are we about to fight? Anko asked. Garen just formed 2 crystal blades on either side of her arms. Why should our students have all the fun? Besides, I've always wanted to fight Orochimaru-sama, former apprentice. Garen said with a grin. Anko returned the grin. Just don't come crying to me when I kill you. I could say the same to you. After I skin you, I'll hang it up in memorial of you. Anko said. The two launched themselves at each other. XXX. Mitoshi's eyes shot open and looked around the area. She realized that she was floating in liquid and there was an open sky. It took her a while to realize that she was back in Ryushido, Dragon Ground Cave. Be easy, mistress, you are in the healing pool. You are still in recovery and will be for some time. A human-sized python hissed. How bad am I hurt? Mitoshi asked weakly. You have a great deal of internal damage. I don't know what type of jutsu you were hit with, mistress, but it must be very powerful. Your snake skin armor was broken in the area of the damage. She said. Mitoshi just relaxed in the pool, calming her breathing and closing her eyes. After a while, she reopened her eyes. I need you to do something for me. Midoshi said. What is your binding mistress? Retrieve my team and bring them here. XXX. Naruto was standing, but he could not help but shake a little in fright. Naruto looked at the hole that he sent Gaara through. He and Genma waited for him to return, as that jutsu would not be enough to end it. What stepped right back out of the hole scared the both of them. One side of Gaara's body was covered in what looked his sand. His face looked like that of a raccoon dog. His hand was now a claw and a tail swished back and forth. He glared at him with a regular eye and a black eye with yellow irises and pupils that each takes the shape of a black four-pointed star with 4 black dots around it. Naruto had an idea of why that was so. Gaara looked at him with a harsh glare. Genma got in front of Naruto to protect when he saw the look in his eyes. They did not deter Gaara. You have caused me pain. You must pay with your life, Uzumaki Naruto. Gaara exclaimed. Genma was about to use a jutsu when he was attacked by Baki. Both males had to dodge, but Naruto was singled out by Gaara. With speed unseen, Gaara rushed up to the blonde and sent him flying with a swipe of his changed arm. Naruto was sent flying into the stands. He traveled as far as the back wall. Naruto was in a daze, but he was quick enough to roll out of the way of Gaara's arm. Naruto was able to get to his feet, but he was smacked across the air by Gaara's backhand. Naruto summoned a clone, and the clone was able to catch him. The two landed on the ground, and Naruto was shaking the cobwebs out. His clone charged at the charging Gaara, but he was quickly dealt with. Gaara continued on his trek, and raised his arm to finish Naruto off. However, Naruto had recovered enough sense to attack. Doton Doria Taiga. Earth release, earth flow river. A river of mud appeared, and Gaara was swept away by the mud. Naruto did another set of seals. Doton Doriuden. Earth release, earth dragon bullet. A dragon appears, and fired several balls of mud at Gaara. Naruto then took a deep breath. Katan, Karyuden. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. The balls of mud ignited and burnt. The fireballs hit Gaara, making him cry out from the attack. The mud then consumed Gaara and sent him crashing back into the field. Gaara struggled to stand with the pain running through him while Naruto regained his bearings. Uzumaki. Gaara roared and turned to go after him. Naruto pulled out 2 kunai and placed 2 tags on them. He tossed them at the charging beast. Gaara blocked it, but he was soon being shocked by several volts of lightning. Gaara ripped out the kunai and tossed them aside. He turned only to get kicked in the face. Naruto landed and slammed a palm into his chest. A seal appeared on his chest and Naruto pushed off. Naruto activated the seal and Gaara went crazy. He grabbed his head as if he was in pain. Damn. You. How dare you hurt mother? Gaara roared. He unleashed his chakra, blowing everyone back. Naruto covered his eyes only to see that Gaara had once again transformed. Instead of half of his body being covered by sand, all of his body was covered. He now looked like a raccoon dog with big claws and a large tail. Gaara looked at him with rage in his eyes. You tried to seal off my mother. You will not survive past today. Naruto sucked his teeth before calling on the Kyuubi's chakra. He was surrounded by the shroud. He winced a little, but he could not afford to fight at half strength. XXX. Hiruzen looked over the village that was currently in battle. He was in his battle attire, a black jumpsuit, which featured mesh segments over the lower portions of his limbs, and a green gauntlet that covered his right wrist, forearm, and elbow. He also wore an armored hood with a bandana-like konoha forehead protector over this, which featured 2 long straps. He could only sigh as he watched his people fight. He would like nothing more than to help them, but his student had trapped him inside the Shishienjin 4 Violet Flames formation. Hiruzen sighed and faced his greatest regret, Orochimaru. He could go on and on about what he could have done for his favorite student, but it would be a waste of time. Orochimaru had threatened his village, and as the Hokage, he would defend it. Besides, he was pretty confident in his village. He got into his stance and prepared for battle. XXXXX. Chapter 51 Invasion Part 2. Explosion was heard throughout the stadium. The sounds of battle were going on as the Konoha ninja protected the civilians. Kakashi stabbed another Odo ninja before ducking a crushing blow from a Suna ninja. He lashed out with a kick that sent the man flying into the wall. He spun and caught him with a genjutsu that froze him. He was easy pickings for his thrown kunai. Kakashi turned back to survey the battle. To his left, he watched as Naruto jumped over the stadium wall and moved toward a forested area. Gaara, or what might have been Gaara, took off after him. It was a good decision made by Naruto, as that Gaara boy would have probably killed everyone just to get to Naruto. To his right, he watched as Anko and that Odo Kunoichi go at it. Anko was holding her own, and her sword work was difficult to cipher. The Kunoichi was still matching her blow for blow. Each was sporting wounds from their battle. Down on the field, Genmo was fighting the Suna ninja, Baki, and Yakumo was fighting the Suna Kunoichi Temurai. They looked like that they were okay. Two Odo shinobi appeared above him, ready to plunge their kunai into his back. Konoha Goriki Senpu. Tree-leaf strong whirlwind guy shouted and blasted the two away from his rival. Guy landed right beside him. Kakashi, you must concentrate on the fight before you. I cannot save you all the time. Sorry Guy, did you say something? Kakashi asked. Guy balked and looked at him with an annoyed glance. This gave Kakashi time to take out two more enemies. That makes 30 to 28. That was very unyouthful. Guy shouted. The two Jonin just continued to fight for their village. XXX. The sound of steel against glass followed the two women as they ran along the top of the stands. Garen with two crystal blades pushed away and did some seals. Kesso, Rakaku Shuriken Ranbu. Crystal, hexagonal Shuriken, wild dance, she shouted. Crystal Shuriken came right at Anko. Anko did some seals of her own and slammed her hands on the ground. Doton Doriaki. Earth release, earth style wall, Anko shouted. Pillars of earth rose to protect her. The pillars looked like that they had scales on it. Garen was preparing another jutsu, but cried out when Anko's sword nicked her shoulder. She thanked herself for encasing her body in a thin layer of crystal, or she would have lost that shoulder. She batted the blade away and drove her crystal blade into the ground. It extended into the ground. She raised it in a sweeping motion. It ripped Anko out of the ground and threw her against the wall she created. Garen did not waste second. Shot on a Maiwatari no Jutsu. Crystal release, the God's Crossings technique, Garen shouted, and put her hands on the ground. A stream of sharp crystal rushed at Anko. It hit Anko and the wall with some impact. Garen waited for the dust to settle. When it did, Anko was skewered against the wall. That was until Anko dispelled. Anko reappeared in front of Garen, a deadly gleam in her eyes. Garen barely had time to raise her arms as Anko's slash came at her with amazing speed. The power behind the blow shattered her swords and sent her flying. Garen tumbled for a while before stopping. She attempted to get to a standing position, but she could not. Her arms could not stop shaking. What was up with the strike? I guess I have to practice more. That strike should have cut your arms clean off. Anko said. She positioned herself before dashing at Garen. The fight was about to be over until Anko was sent flying back by the tail of a serpent. The blow really hurt because she got hit right where she was cut. Anko was able to stay on her feet and looked at what hit here. Garen was just as surprised to see a man-sized snake. The serpent looked at Anko. Sorry Anko, but I cannot allow you to kill her. Mistress Midoshi wants her back. The snake said. Garen nodded at the snake before facing Anko. Another time then. Garen said. Another time. Anko said and watched as Garen was reversed summoned. Anko turned back to the battle ahead of her. She winced at the wound that she received. It was leaking and knew that she would be useless if she passed out from blood loss. Using the Shunshin body flicker, Anko took herself out of the battle. XXX. Konoha dodged another volley of shuriken and launched her hair. She caught two Konoha shinobi by their necks. With a strong pull, she tossed the two through a store window. She ducked another ninja and kicked him in the kneecap. He dropped to that knee, allowing Konoha to crush her knee into her face. She turned to see two fireballs coming at her. Keidro Nimpo Ataketa. Alien Ninja Arts Ephemeral Keidro shouted. 4 firefly wings appeared and a powerful energy blast was released. It consumed the 2 fireballs and the 2 ninja who casted them. Keidro dropped to her knees and was barely breathing. Konoha quickly grabbed her and used her hair to create a shield. Konoha checked on Keidro and saw that she was still alive. She could hear the sounds of steel hitting her hair and was worried. Damn it, we were so close, she thought. That's when they heard screams and hisses. Then it went all quiet. Konoha brought down her shield to see that everyone was either out or dead. 2 man-sized snakes appeared before them. Seeing that Keidro was hurt, one of the serpents immediately took her away with a poof. Konoha suddenly realized why they were here. She nodded at the serpent, and she was also reversed summoned. XXX. Jacken was breathing hard as he held his Kusarigama in a defensive position. This was one hard fight. Kankuro definitely had the edge as he could hide in the area they were in. He had led him here so that he could hide while his puppet did all the work. It was a good plan, and he was at a great disadvantage. He knew that Kankuro was nearby, as was his puppet. All he managed to do was take off an arm. He had several cuts, and he was sure that he was poisoned. He would not last much longer. What's wrong? Where was that bravado earlier? Either way, you're going to die here, Konoha ninja. It will be all the sweeter when I do so. Temurai is not going to like that, Kankuro said with amusement. He's really close. I wanted to save this to avoid damage, but I don't think I have a choice, Jacken thought. He gathered the last of his chakra and had his arms out. He had a smile on his face. It's a good thing that everyone has cleared out. I can use this new jutsu without restraint. Rensen Aji Midirgami. Sickle Flash Secret Technique. Wild Hair Jacken crossed his hands, tossing the sickles. Chains burst into and out of the houses from all angles. Even where Kankuro was hiding was surrounded by chains. The whole area was covered in chains. The chains began to glow red before a huge explosion took out the surrounding area. Jacken was safe from the explosion due to an area he created with his chains. He dropped to one knee and was breathing hard. The poison was working through his system. He waited for the dust to settle before he began his search. It didn't take him long to find Kankuro, who was laid out. He had several burns and his puppet was in pieces. He began to search Kankuro and found 2 vials. One was a dark purple liquid, and the other was an olive green liquid. Going with his gut, he downs the olive green liquid. He goes into a hiding spot and passes out. He would later be found by Anbu and taken to the hospital. XXX. Yakumo and Temurai continued their fight in the competitor's box. Yakumo had led her here to gain an advantage. Temurai could no longer swing her fan around as freely as she could. Temurai was forced to fight her close-up as many of her jutsu were useless. Like Anko taught her, she must set the battleground. Temurai swung her fan like a club and Yakumo jumped back. She threw several kunai at Temurai, who opened the fan to block it. It tore her fan, giving it holes. Temurai growled and charged at Yakumo. She was able to thrust the fan into her gut hard, making her spit up bile. Yakumo dispelled into sakura petals. Temurai cursed, but she could not move. She looked around and saw that she ensnared in vines. They were choking her out. That's when the vines changed into sand. Temurai looked forward to see Gaara standing in front of her. His arm was out, and the sand began to ensnare her. No, Gaara, please don't kill me. I'm your sister. I'm your sister, Temurai shouted. Gaara did not listen and encased her in sand. That's when she heard two words she never wanted to hear. Sabaku Soso, Gaara said, and Temurai screamed. Temurai dropped to the ground and was out cold. Yakumo reappeared and made her way to Temurai. She quickly did hand seals and her hands glowed green. She placed it over her head and allowed the healing to work. It was something that she learned to help those she used her genjutsu against people. Yakumo knew that she was the enemy, but she was not about to let her die. XXX. The sounds of battle could be heard in the forest near the village. Naruto and Gaara roared at each other as they charged at each other. Naruto ducked under Gaara's swipe and landed his fist flush against Gaara's face. Gaara stumbled, but swung his tail, catching Naruto, and slammed him into a tree. Naruto grabbed the tail and pulled Gaara. He whipped him around before slamming him into the ground hard. Naruto jumped away and did hand seals. Katanenden. Fire release, flame bullet. Naruto spat out an oil-lit fireball that consumed Gaara. It would only be a few moments when Gaara jumped out of the fire and sent his arm at Naruto. Naruto avoided it and moved quickly. Gaara could not keep up and was bombarded with punches and kicks. Gaara hit a tree and struggled to stand. He saw the charge and swung his arm. Suna Shuriken. Sand Shuriken. Naruto was hit with several sand projectiles that stopped and sent him flying. Naruto skid to a stop and winced at the injury. Lucky for him, the Kyuubi chakra healed his wounds. The two glared at each other. Damn you, how dare you try to end my existence? I will not be erased by you. You will die. That isn't going to happen. I will defeat you and I will protect my village. Naruto shouted. Gaara seethed in rage before unleashing his chakra. Sand began to pour out of him and form into something big. When the smoke cleared, Naruto looked up to see a large raccoon dog. Naruto cursed as he realized Gaara just unleashed the Shikaku. Naruto knew that everyone could see it now. He was not going to allow the demon to leave this spot. Using the chakra of his cloak, Naruto did the hand seals that he learned over the month. Kochios no Jutsu. Summoning technique, Naruto shouted. A large plume of smoke rose in front of the Shikaku. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was standing on a giant toad. The toad was Gamabunta, chief of toads. What the Naruto? Why have you summoned me? The large toad demanded. Look in front of you, boss. We've got a battle on our hands. Naruto told him. The toad did just that and gave an annoyed grunt. What is with you blondes? First the Yondaime, now you. Don't you two ever fight normal enemies? Gamabunta asked. Naruto just sweat dropped. The two got ready to fight the Shikaku. XXX. Hiruzen took his eyes off his opponents and looked at the two huge figures that were close to the village. To see the Shikaku worried him greatly. Then Gamabunta appeared and everything was just fine. He knew that it wasn't Drea. Drea was at the gates with others. He knew that this was Naruto. Orochimaru was looking as well and was annoyed by it. He also knew that Drea was nowhere close to them. That meant that someone else was allowed to sign the Toad contract. He looked at Hiruzen and saw a smile on his face. Someone you know, Sarutobi-sensei? Orochimaru inquired. Yes, he is my second proudest student next to Drea. He will carry on my moniker when I die. Hiruzen said. It is amusing that you accept your death so readily. Still, what makes you think that he will succeed in stopping Gaara? Orochimaru asked. Because I believe in him. He embodies what the will of fire means and it burns brightly within him. Hiruzen returned his attention back to Orochimaru. Come, my failure student. I will show you why I am the Shinobi no Kami. God of Shinobi. Final chapter, victory and loss. Shikaku and Gaara faced off against Naruto and Gamabunta. They just looked at each other, each with their own objective. One wanted to destroy, the other wanted to protect. With a roar, Gaara threw his arms forward. Big balls of sand were shot toward Gamabunta. The large toad ducked and dodged as he got closer to the large Tanukai. Like lightning, Gamabunta removed his blade and lashed out at Shikaku. Gamabunta struggled to cut into him, giving the beast time to counter. Jump back. Naruto called out. The toad listened and jumped away from the Shikaku. They landed away from the Shikaku and faced him. That sand is very hard to cut through. I will need an edge. Gamabunta said. Naruto jumped off his head and landed on the blade. Trust me, boss, I've got it covered. Naruto said. Alright, kid. Hang on. Gamabunta charged at the Shikaku. He launched several more balls of sand at Gamabunta. Again he dodged and swung his blade again. As he did, Naruto focused his wind chakra into the blade. He learned about his affinity before the exams and worked on it during his month with Jiraiya. The blade hit the shoulder blade and it easily cut through. The arm flew off and landed a distance away. Gamabunta jumped away and landed behind him. Kid, you are the best summoner ever. I figured that would work. Let's get wild. Naruto said. Get on my head and do the same thing, kid. Gamabunta shouted. Naruto flipped onto his head and focused his wind chakra and touched his head. Suton Teppadama. The toad shouted and fired 2 high-pressure balls of water at Shikaku. The balls of water were moving faster than before. When they hit, they blew chunks off the sand demon. Gaara couldn't believe what he was seeing. He quickly did a seal. Gamabunta saw this and quickly fired another Teppadama. However, he was not fast enough. Tanukai Niri no Jutsu. Feigning sleep technique, Gaara shouted. As the ball of water neared, 3 walls of sand popped up and protected Gaara. That's when a crazed cheer was heard all over the village. I'm free. I'm free. Shikaku shouted. Naruto looked on with some worry. I take it that isn't good. Naruto asked. No, it isn't good. The boy has given control over to his demon. His full power is now being released. Gamabunta explained. What's the plan? Naruto asked. We have to wake the boy, or we are going to be in for a really hard fight. Gamabunta shouted. That's when they saw the damage they caused begin to restructure. They also saw the gut of Shikaku expands. Hold on. Futon Renkuden. Shikaku roared and fired a ball of compressed wind. Gamabunta jumped high in the air to avoid it. Naruto watched as the area behind them just disappeared. Gamabunta landed and dodged another Renkuden. Gamabunta fired back with his Teppadama, but the Shikaku dodged. Gamabunta jumped into the air, and Shikaku fired 2 Renkuden, with a delayed third one. Gamabunta countered with 2 Teppadama, but it blocked his view from the third one. Naruto saw it though, and quickly did some hand seals. Futon, Senpikanta. Whirlwind counter, Naruto shouted and blew out a large tornado in front of the toad. It took a lot of chakra for him create one that size. It did the trick though, as the third Renkuden was batted away and sent back at double the speed. Shikaku barely had time to dodge as the attack nearly took him out. Seeing that was covered, Naruto quickly came up with a plan. Summoning several clones, Naruto had them all spread out. Boss, I need some oil. Got it. Oil began to fill Gamabunta's cheeks and Naruto did some hand seals. Katan, Gamer Enden. They both roared and fired their flamethrower attack. Shikaku fired another Renkuden, but it was countered by the combined attack. It even made it stronger. Shikaku protected Gaara as the jutsu hit him. The two continued to blow until they could no longer. The fire was still burning and Naruto could see that most of the Shikaku had instantly turned to glass. This what he wanted. With a loud shout, Naruto had his clones attack. Each of them launched a jutsu that they had in their arsenal. They hit the glass and shattered it. The Shikaku began to tip over due to losing most of its side. The clones attacked, running up the heavily damaged body of the Shikaku. The demon was still aware and swatted or crushed the clones. What he did not see was the charging Gamabunta, who ran his sword through the sand thanks to Naruto. The blonde jumped off and charged. He pulled out his staff and launched it like a javelin. The sand caught the sand, but Naruto expected this and launched himself past it. He reared his fist back and threw it forward, connecting with Gaara's jaw. Gaara awoke with a start and looked at Naruto with surprise. Naruto wasn't done yet. Two clones survived and held Gaara at bay. One revealed the seal that he had, and Naruto quickly threw his other arm forward. His fingers were glowing with characters on his fingertips. Gagyo Fuin. 5 elements seal, Naruto roared, and slammed his hand into his stomach. Gaara screamed as he felt something burn. Once it was done, the rest of the Shukaku fell into nothing but sand. Yamabunta pulled his sword out and waited for the dust to settle. When it did, he let out a sigh of relief because Naruto was okay. He was probably out of chakra now, but he was impressed by the boy's ability. This fight went a little smoother than his father's. Naruto, I am tired. I will be returning home. Yamabunta said to him. I got ya. Thanks for your help, boss. Naruto said. Yamabunta nodded before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto sat down and watched Gaara as he laid down on the ground. Naruto just rested his head against a tree. He closed his eyes and allowed the fatigue to claim him. XXX. It has been 3 days since the invasion. It was dark and it was wet as the rain just fell over Konoha. Everyone was gathered in black to send a final farewell to the Sandaime Hokage. Naruto stood with his teammates, the Sarutobi family and Uruka. Naruto's eyes were downcast as he looked at the coffin of his teacher and surrogate grandfather. He was very sad when Anko broke the news to him. He actually broke down in tears in the hospital room. He wasn't left alone. Yakumo had him stay with her family at the compound. Jacken, when he was cleared of the poison, also stayed with the Kurama clan. They would sit and talk about the old man. They would joke and reflect about the impact that he made in their lives. If it wasn't for the Sandaime, Naruto would not have the strength he needed to defend his friends. If it wasn't for the Sandaime, Yakumo and Jacken would not have gotten a second chance. Each of them had something to thank the old cage for. Each of them put a white rose on the casket and made a promise to the old cage. They all swore to continue to improve and to protect the village that he died for. This was a promise that they all made. XXX. After the funeral, Ibiki confronted Team Anko. He told Anko that he needed Naruto for a second. When she asked why, he explained that Gaara wanted to speak to him. This surprised Naruto, but he suddenly understood why. He agreed to see Gaara. They arrived to a room where Gaara was restrained and seated. Naruto stood before Gaara and looked at him. Gaara faced him as well. The two were silent for a while before Naruto spoke. I guess you called me here to ask about our similar past. Naruto asked. So we have had similar past. However, you seem to have not given in to the darkest. You have friends, people that you care about, and at the same they care about you. I have not had that luxury. I have been feared, hated, and lonely. I believed that to prove my existence, I needed to kill. However, here you stand the victor, my reason for existing shattered. I do not know what to do. Gaara explained sadly. Naruto looked at his fellow Jinchuriki with a somber expression. When I was 5 years old, I lost control of my anger, and I killed a group of people. The stupid fox whispered words into my head, and I acted on it. I could have gone down that road, but the Sandaime Hokage. He found me and showed me love. He trained me and showed me how to rise beyond the hate I felt. I then made friends and teammates. A few people that used to scowl at me actually said hi to me. I guess, the thing that you have to do is to not give up. If you do, then you are proving them right. If you don't quit, and show everybody that you can change, things get better. I guess the first thing you have to do is to find people who love you. Naruto explained. I don't have someone like that in my life. Gaara said. What about your siblings? Maybe that's a place to start. Naruto said. Gaara looked deep in thought at that suggestion. Ibiki then led Naruto out of the room and Gaara back to his cell. XXX. Midoshi stepped out of the healing pool and placed on a rope. She walked toward a steaming area where her teen was sitting. She sat next to Keitaro and checked on her. It seems that the pool is doing its job. The steam will further your healing, Midoshi said. Thank you, Midoshi-sama. I am sorry that I am so weak, Keitaro said. Don't worry about it. I blame your sensei for that, Midoshi said with a smirk. Garen just glared at her and rubbed her arms. She could still feel that sword strike that nearly took her arms. She decided to get something out of the way. So what are your plans, Midoshi? Garen asked. What makes you think that I have any plans? Midoshi asked. Don't bullshit me. You have never cared about anything but your own amusement. This connection you have with us isn't going to last, and I know that. Yet, you invite us to the home of the serpents and take care of us. You must have some sort of plan, Garen stated. Midoshi looked at Garen with some seriousness before grinning. I can't get anything past you. You are right about the fact that I do have plans. However, you are wrong about my feelings toward you three, Midoshi said. What do you mean? Konoha asked. I have grown attached to you three. The months that we spent together were the most fun that I have had in years. Not to say that you are interesting, but I would feeling something close to sadness if you were to disappear. Besides, you and I both know that you have fallen out of favor with the snake due to your actions. Garen had to admit that. I need you three to stand at my side. I might be cruel and uncaring, but I know that I will need my team for the future that I want to create. So, what do you say? Midoshi asked after a lengthy talk. I will stand at your side, Midoshi-sama, Keitaro said. As will I, Konoha added. Everyone looked at Garen, who had her arms folded. She then sighed and gave the girls a grin. Very well, I will be your ally. However, if you try anything, I will kill you, Garen said seriously. I look forward to watching you try and fail, Midoshi joked. Garen just chuckled at her. A new force was formed. XXX. Konoha was back in high spirits. Everyone was working to rebuild their home. They were still hurt over the loss of the Hokage, but they dusted themselves off and continued forward. They would rebuild their village to be stronger than ever. The genin were also helping in the rebuild and doing well. However, in the distance, two men watched the village. While they could not see the work that they were doing, they were looking at the village with evil intentions. Enough with just looking at the village, the two robed figures made their way toward Konoha. A new chapter was about to begin in the life of Uzumaki Naruto. That's it for this story. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.